Where we come from, we each fight for loyalty, for freedom, or perhaps enlightenment. But not here. Here we cast aside our disparate beliefs, our barriers and preconceived notions, and band together as a global force to engage in the largest competitive battles the world has ever seen. We are the squads, the platoons, the empires and servers, full of players coordinating a complex game of strategy and tactics. This is where combined arms happens. This is where war comes to play. This is ServerSmash.
Hello everyone and welcome to ServerSmash number 58, our grind finals for the 2015 tournament. I am your main caster and PSP1 streamer today. My name is Farah and today I'm joined by two lovely gentlemen from Emerald. Why don't you announce yourselves and tell everyone who you are?
Well, my name is Pooh Nanners, the Harbinger of Freedom. And we got a bro from 1TR here who's going to tell us a little bit about himself.
Thanks for that great intro. I'm Doc Tina. Just call me Doc, mostly.
So here we are today. We are in the ServerSmash finals. This is 2015 finals. This is the game that everybody has been waiting for to watch. We'll be seeing and witnessing today Miller playing as the new conglomerate on Amerish from the Southern Warp Gate. And who's playing Nanners in the East?
You talking about Emerald?
Yeah? Who's playing?
Yes.
Tell me about this Emerald.
Yep. Emerald's all excited to keep kicking out Dino Bus jams in the Warp Gate.
Which means I'm not going there. One video is enough trauma. Okay, so today we're going to basically do a breakdown of how we got here, what we expect to see here today, and just the hype of our finals. Because I think I speak for all of us here in this channel when I say I'm really looking really forward to this. I mean, what about you guys?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, you have two teams, both one loss between them. In this particular match, one of the teams has previously lost to the other one, so they actually have an idea what it is to be on the losing end. Emerald's had that before, where they had a never-ending streak of victories and already thought they had it in the bag against Cobalt and then lost. So this time around, Miller might end up against the same thing, but that air hammer with that 5,000 air-to-ground kills from the air hammer in just the last three matches alone is going to be difficult to counter. So
that causes PTSD.
Chose the Mossies.
Yes, so to give an idea, we're on Amerish, so this was basically a coin toss elimination on what map to play. And from that, we also chose bid factions and Warp Gate. So Miller has the Southern Warp Gate as NC, and Emerald, as we've already mentioned, is now playing the Terran Republic on the Eastern Warp Gate. Today, we're doing 240 versus 240, and if we show on stream a second... The current standings view include the semi-finals. Miller and Emerald both on 4 wins and 1 loss. Miller lost one of their games to Cobalt, and Emerald lost their important game there to Miller on Hossen. And that was a 66 or something. I can look up the final things, but the point is that the cut off the territory in Emerald was on 25. And we are looking really, really forward to this because both teams here are extremely strong. Miller showed what they could do against Emerald. However, Emerald wasn't slacking. They saw everything that's going on. They realized what the enemy opposition is like. And you'd have to say that both teams have been practicing and training for this, playing on their respective servers, playing on their respective factions, and just working hard, getting the best team you can possibly do. I mean, have you seen anything on live on Emerald, Punanas? Because I know that Miller is super psyched for today's game.
Oh, yeah. Emerald Live has been sick with TR. The population has really shifted over there. There was a lot of fighting last night that actually got to take part and actually played over on TR, even though I don't much care to play that side because I love my freedom rhetoric. But I was over there trying to help support the server and get them going. I think Doc was there, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. I was medic. I was in your squad, actually, a little bit before I had to leave. Those are some good base caps, too.
We had a good time, but I didn't see a lot of practicing with the striker, which is what I wanted to see, although people said they were doing it. And that's a really good hard counter to the Miller using the air hammer in an air-to-ground fashion and just stacking on their afterburners, as opposed to not really relying on rocket pods for air-to-ground. Good counters use that striker. If everybody's carrying striker, it works against ground enemies as well as planes.
So
But the problem
today,
with Striker is, though, it doesn't effectively kill the Maxus, so you have to worry about that as well.
Yeah. Just pull your C4 out. You'll be all right.
so
Everyone knows NC loves them.
Miller picked the NC because that's what they worked with. They've got the I'll boost Nano's voice in a second, guys. So they're talking about, they've got the Scat Maxes with the shotguns, and they've got the Air Hammer, basically shotguns all round. And we know Miller's Air Force is pretty strong, as you saw from the intro vids, and it caused a lot of PTSD on Hossin. Why do you think Emerald selected TR today? I mean, is it, rather than the Vanu Sovereignty, is it the Gatekeepers on like the Harassers? Is it just the ESF things? And what do you think?
The thing is, you have to give up the Orion when you do that, and it's difficult. But the problem is that we've lost a lot of our Air Force, a lot of our good Air Force, who knows how to not pancake a scythe when going against a Reaver. So this gives them a slimmer body on the ASF, so the ESFs will be able to fight. It's also why Emerald, I think, really didn't want Hossin, because Hossin allows the air-to-ground plates to hide below the tree line, and this time they'll have nowhere to hide. I think it's also why, if you remember, Emerald said no Hossin, and Miller explicitly said no Esamir, because Esamir, there's absolutely no place to hide.
Yeah, and Esamir has not been kind to Miller recently. That's where they lost a game against Cobalt, and so that's where we are here today.
It's a shotgun on your nose. It's good for a sneak attack. If I see you coming, it's worthless.
So today, we're going to have a brief look at the map here. We are in Amerish, and this is where we are. We have a kind of a northeast versus south warp gate approach. The third color today is our neutral faction. These are bases open for contention. Interesting fact is that it's not just large outposts anymore, but actually smaller outposts, which can also be captured the last second. It used to be that there was you could go 2 minutes and then it would go back and forth. But now, once a base cap starts, it will end at the end of that preset amount of time. It just depends who gets it. So if we start first on our easternmost flank of the lane, we're looking at subterranean nanite analysis, SNA. And this is one of the lanes and bases where, because of its top-down structure and how defensive it is, it's going to be changed recently. I remember seeing the devs, but for the time being, if you get this base, there's no reason why you should lose this. But it doesn't have any sunder garages. So when you analyze the base, you think, well, whoever has air control or surrounding vehicle control can dominate the internals of the base. But at the same time, because there's no back and forth, you can steal the cap point literally in 1 second because it's a third faction base and then take the base. You could see very, very heavy airdrops, perhaps in the last minute, and then forcing their way down into the base and perhaps getting to the capture point. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Nanners, do you want to have a look at Split Peak Pass and tell us and describe Split Peak Pass as we move along the map?
All right. Well, I could get the map to render. It's always a problem. I actually was looking to get what's his name added to my
well, while you
Go
get
ahead.
here, the Delta capture point we've seen is an underground on Split Peak Pass. This is a 4-point base, which means you obviously need 3 to progress the cap timer. So if it's 50-50, 2 points each, that it's not necessarily going to go anywhere. We have seen this Delta capture point being filled with sunders, proxy repair sunders, battle repair sunders, blockade armor. And basically holding down 1 point makes it a 20-minute long base fight. And if you have a 20-minute long base fight, it means that all the other sorts of neutral bases and opening plays can resolve themselves, and then you can come back and focus on Split Peak. And theoretically, because the Bravo, Alpha, and Charlie capture points are exposed and open, you hear, Nanners?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm actually looking at it. I know what you're talking about. It's a classic people suck, because that's what they do. They pile their Sunderers down on D point. It's usually a big battle there. And usually once you get your foothold on D and push out, you push out to B, you push out to A, you push out to C, and before you know it, they've taken D and now they're pushing you, and it's just an endless suck of resources.
Cool, right. So we'll see then how Split Peak goes. We also then have one of our sections where there is no neutral base between a Racticum substation and a Macalla auxiliary compound. Now, while the tech plant doesn't play a huge factor, because we're not expecting to see a lot of Prowlers today, I am interested to see whether or not Miller pushes hard for the tech plant and perhaps up to Crux headquarters to get territory. Or whether or not it's Emerald who chooses to push for a Raxicom substation. The fact is that the going north is easier because a Raxicom substation, as we'll show, it is again another base that doesn't have a Sunder garage. Your spawn options for an attacking team in this case Emerald in the beginning, is going to be limited by the enemy air force if they can come in and pick stuff off, or the enemy vehicles coming in slightly from the further south from Arax's firearms, where they can pull heavy armor. And grabbing the capture point isn't exposed in the open capture point, making it extremely precarious to sit there and cap. Whereas if you're Miller and you're pushing north at Macalla Auxiliary Compound, we'll see that the base, actually we can hack the AA turrets, so we get a little bit of anti-air defense, and plus it's an internal capture point where you can hack the vehicle terminal and drive Sunders in and onto the point to give you extra force multipliers away from enemy air force. The only thing you have to be worried about is enemy maxes and max crashes to get in. And but the thing is, if you own the building, you can set up the AV mines and you don't have to deal that with the enemy. So that is interesting to see how that kind of goes. Moving into the center, and Nanners, why don't you go to the Bastion, and I'll ask you about Bastion in a second. Moving into the center, we have Raven's Landing and Rockslide Outlook. These are both uncontestable bases that both Miller and Emerald can start flipping on. However, we have seen interdictions before where one team gets there first and defends the point even though they can't cap it, just to delay the enemy. The reason you would do this is because Lithcorp Central is an uncontestable base until you get your adjacency. So if you can hold off for a few minutes, you get an advantage at Lithcorp. And then that leads into the Ascent. Now the Ascent is can't be accessed at the beginning, have to work your way towards it, but the important thing, it is a tower base and it has air terminals, and it also is the center of the map for air control. So typically I would imagine Miller's perhaps going to make more of a focus on the Ascent, because if they can grab it, it means there's a focal point for their air force to push out in all directions. Nanners, why don't you give us a shout out about Bastion? Tell us about Bastion.
Now, Bastion is not too far off from the center of the map, but it does at the same time give you a place the Air Force can launch from. But it's also a base that is an absolute nightmare to freaking take. It's at the tower, of course. Everyone knows towers are fun to defend, but it is a 3-point base, and they are spread out. Anybody who's spent a lot of time at Bastion knows what a nightmare it can be, and that when you actually do take it, after the hour you've probably spent trying to take it, it is a very happy feeling. But usually in ServerSmash, this is one of those bases that kind of goes back and forth and is never fully taken. And on rare occasion that it is taken, it usually stays that way.
It's the fact that it's a tower and it has the alpha capture point in the tower right next to spawns means why it can drag on for so long, and then the enemy can then choose to send population as and when they wish to.
But even with all 3 points, it still runs slow.
Indeed, and then and it's a 7-minute base capture when you have all 3 points, which is plenty of time for the enemy to react. And if you're Emerald to the north, you want to lock down Bastion to prevent your West Footlands, Foothills Air Dock and Araxicom Network Hub from being interdicted. And if you're Miller, you want to get Bastion so that, let's say, perhaps Lithcorp Central, Deepcore Geolab, or the opportunity to attack into the north. So both teams, it is a strategic linchpin. Maybe not as important as the Ascent, but it's definitely valuable, and you definitely want to make that opening play to get it. And Doc, why don't you tell us about Deserted Mineshaft and Soltech Charging Station?
Sure, just give me a second.
Well, while you're doing that, I want to say something else about the Bastion. While it is a valuable target, 9 times out of 10 what I see in ServerSmash is people only make a play for it to pull enemies into it. So if it's not being protected, which usually it isn't because it's 7 minutes, you go through, flip the timers, and then leave a handful of guys that protect the points, just so they'll send troops after troops after troops to try to take the base back from you and make sure you don't get the cap. So it's generally used as a people suck in this game.
Go ahead, Doc.
ServerSmash.
Now, the thing with Deserted Mineshaft, I haven't much of an honor to fight at this base because it's so close to the warp gate. The thing is, it's like any other one of those building bases. Stairs. It's like this copy paste. There's like the double backs, big stairs, small stairs. It's once you get on point, it's pretty easy to hold down, and as long as you can bring some sunnies and just camp the enemy spawn room.
So
all set.
The thing about this base that we perhaps will show is that there is actually a deployed Sunder Garage here on the eastern edge, as I'm showing the screen, but you can also deploy a Stealth Sunder where I'm indicating here on the stream right now. So there is a very close run time from the attackers into the capture point from the north. But conversely, there's also an exceptionally short run time from the spawn room for the defenders into the capture building, which is your standard kind of L-shaped double building. And on big stairs, into double doors, into the capture point. So you basically, from one side of double doors outside, you've got the attackers. From the inside, on the big stairs and double doors, you have the defenders. And it can be an absolute grenade magnet. We saw the semi-finals with Briggs against Emerald in this one, and this was an absolute slaughter fest. However, and then, but conversely, usually what happens is we usually see that the attack usually kicks off at Saltic Charging Station first because of the flight times and who can get there sooner. Saltic Charging Station, we typically see it as an exposed capture point, so Air Force can have an impact, but there's a lot of options and places for Sunders to be deployed away from the spawn rooms. However, the defenders don't necessarily have to worry too much about the Air Force because of the extremely close proximity to their their vehicle pad, and plus they can go straight into this banana building, across into Tetris, and then onto the capture point. So there is quite a bit of cover to get to the capture point, and the trees do provide some cover as well. This is usually often seen as a back and forth base, but a slightly stronger platoon, you're so far away off from the western edge of the map that typically reinforcements don't come that often, and we have seen teams push all the way up to Coati, and other teams push all the way up to Ickenham and to Bastion from West Foothills Air Docks. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see how Miller and Emerald platoons react with each other today during this match. I mean, do you have any particular base that you're looking forward to the most?
I wanted to say something about Soltec and Deserted Mineshaft, though. Like, one of the deeper strategies in ServerSmash on this particular map layout is these are really far away from most of the action this lane is. So the reason that you push this one, you feint it. You don't really hit it as hard as you hit the other lanes, but you push this one in order to draw enemies so far across the map because of the new deploy mechanic that they can't instantly react to stuff happening in the main battle. That's why you constantly push this part. You can actually either pick up territories or force population out there. Those are your two choices.
Yes, and that is something of a wider strategy, which I guess I wanted to talk about. Typically, the game style, guys, that we expect to see here today, it's very much every lane will be contested and every lane will be fought after. There will be no deserted lanes, but we're expecting when offensive caps hit down, adjacent lanes will redeploy to reinforce, either to defensive saves or to offensive caps. So if you're fighting on a base and it's going down to 2 minutes out of a 4-minute base capture, you'll typically see from both sides something that typically only Miller and Emerald do but is very successful, is reinforcements for offensive captures. That way, that when the defenders bring in reinforcements because they're not getting it, you never reveal your opening hand. You don't just go to an attacking base and say, here I am, I have 50 people. No, it's, I have 1 squad, now I have 2 squads, now I have 3 squads, now I have 4 squads. And so long as they own the capture point, you can expect to see those additional reinforcements continue to stream in. And depending on the layout of the base, and Air Force maybe has an impact, you might see that the Air Force will turn up from either particular team. So I'm interested to see what the kind of the wider meta tactics are. And also when you attack a base, it's not just how do I get there, let's fly on like a Valkyrie or a Galaxy. It's no, we will turn up in force, we will have Sunderers, repair Sunderers, we'll have vehicles. Every force multiplier under the sun, including Maxes, is we're expecting to see here today. Anything that is cheap, cheesy, or effective to basically boost or multiply the limited number of people you have. This isn't live server. You can't, count on a 90% pop over advantage, because if you have 90% pop taking one base, chances are, Nano's right, you're losing but 3 or 4 other lanes.
It really depends, but that's something I saw Miller actually manage very well in the last match they had against Emerald, and that's the trick: is you hit as many bases as you can, and then you put your chips on the base that you think you can take. And generally, if the other team responds quickly, because the server doesn't immediately report the massive shift in population, you're relying on your commanders on the ground to tell you they're rushing this base so you can get your people there. And a lot of servers will try to out-fake each other. Like, they'll make it look like they're shifting a bunch of population one way, but are actually trying to take another base. But you can do that. You'll have 4 bases contested. You try to put all your chips on one base. You might end up losing 2 or 3. You have to manage the timers. And it's a very complex thing, knowing how quickly people can shift people over, how far it is, how much time you have to the base captures, how many points are on it. It's a very complicated mechanic that I feel like only Limgar has fully mastered.
And there's also the element of tempo play. For example, let's say I was Miller, right? And I'm at Saltic Charge Station and I'm attacking Deserted Mineshaft. Deserted Mineshaft is a 4-minute base capture. If I'm attacking the base and I fail to capture it, so let's say with 1 minute to go until capture, I'm pushed off, then I now have 3 minutes of tempo play where the enemy cannot attack Saltic Charging Station because they must first fully resecure Deserted Mineshaft. So the question then happens, do you stay on the Saltic Charging Station going and then go back to the Deserted Mineshaft lane and re-attack it before the 3 minutes expires so that you don't have to defend Saltic Charging? Or do you use that 3 minutes and it's technically 7 minutes because of the 4 minutes cap and Celtic charging, to go to an alternate base, perhaps the Bastion, perhaps Lithcorp Central, somewhere else that is under contention, maybe being enemy is capturing it, or you are capping another base on another lane, it means you can afford to move your population onto another lane to help with a capture, while the defenders, they have to keep some people behind a deserted mineshaft in this instance so that you don't come back and take the cap point off. And if they do leave deserted mineshaft to go help another base and don't stay there, well then you would penalise them and you'd go back to that base, and it's no longer a 4 minute base capture, perhaps it's a 2 minute base capture because you've gone back there a minute later. So this is tempo play that we expect to see in today's game, and I guess we've got a few minutes, we've got about 2-3 minutes before we go into our final intro video. Let me ask Doc and Pooh, what do you think Emerald's opening play is going to be today? What do you think their main focus is?
You want to go, Poon, or you want me to go?
Oh, sure, I'll go ahead. Now, I think what Emerald's going to go do is they're actually going to go for the ascent, dead center of the map, and they're going to push in a rock slide, do themselves some mitigating over at Ravens. But I think they're going to try to push on the ascent and try to take the middle of the map. That'll give them a good base to take off from. That'll give them the central location that you want for your Air Force, and it will deny the central Air Force location for Miller. Miller getting a central place to launch their air hammers is going to be bad news for Emerald, so they're going to have to stack that on there. That's what really cost them their fight against Cobalt. Cobalt went, and this same map for the championship, went just dead on for the center of the map and used it as the central launching point for their Air Force, and their Air Force just wrecked Emerald in the finals. I think they've learned from that.
I think that might be a good idea, but also the good thing about SNA and Split Peak Pass, those two can be real big grinders, and if Miller can get past those bases, not much of a chance can be you can't really defend Silver Valley Arsenal, sure, but then they can take all those bases up to the Biolab for another grinder for the TR. It's just going to be difficult to try to resecure SNA and still pass from Miller.
East Hills checkpoint isn't necessarily the most friendly. I think it's a base that goes back and forth quite frequently with Silver Valley Arsenal. I guess for Miller, perhaps a strong play for the tech plant. At the same time, you need to get Ravens landing instantly. Probably not do an interdiction at Rockslide. Once you've got Ravens push for Lithcorp Central, it's a neutral base. Whoever does the most influence can get it. And then once you have Lithcorp Central, whether you're Emerald or Miller, you can push for Ravens or Rockslide, and that would cut off access to the ascent, giving you the base for free, so you don't have to necessarily fight there. So that is a potential play that we might see today. Bastion, I think, while they will not be given for free and there'll be a game plan for it depending when it times down, I don't think we'll see it hitting off very soon. I don't think it's going to be like 7 minutes immediately. I don't think maybe any team will actually flip any points, and they'll want to delay Bastion until later in the game. And Split Peak Pass, I think, will be contested right from the beginning. All the points will be flipped, but it'll be back and forth who has what and where. But I think it's a case of go for the shorter base timers first, then go for the longer base cap timers. So Subterranean Analysis is 6 minutes because of the shield generator. Split Peak Pass is 7 minutes if you have all 4 points, and that means it could be like 20 plus minutes. And then Ascent could be quick if it's all cut off and surrounded, and Bastions could also be quick when it kind of goes down, but probably not the first 7 minutes. So we should see that Macau Auxiliary Compound, perhaps Deserted Mineshaft, Celtic Charging Station, or Axicom Substation. These are the first bases that are going to come under heavy contention, right? And then it would spread out from shorter bases that you can immediately capture to longer ones. So if I was Miller, I'd probably say Ravens into Lithcorp, perhaps Macau Auxiliary first, and then SNA followed by Split Peak, and then maybe Bastion last. And everything here will be like force multiplied. So we'll see how it goes. And alright, that is on our 2 minutes. So we're just going to play our intro video, guys, and then as soon as we get back, we'll head to our respective warp gates and then the beginning of our finals. So stay right there.
On our home servers, we claim allegiance to different factions, playing to measure individual skill, for the reputation of our outfits, or simply for the glory of battle itself. But we have longed for the spectacle and exhilaration of massive competition. Hundreds of players facing off on a level playing field to determine who will reign supreme. On this battlefield, players from around the globe stand together in their combined might as servers, to participate in the ultimate expression of teamwork and the largest competitive events in gaming. The tactics from live server play will likely get you killed here. Organization and communication are key. Victory is seized by quick-thinking commanders and agile and creative squads. More than their individual skills, you must rely on your teammates to band together as a cohesive force to drive the enemy back. This is Planetside, the way it is meant to be played. Planetside Battle ServerSmash Tournament 2015.
Okay, here we go, guys. We got 17 seconds until the start. Poonanners, what's your expectation today? What's the score? Who's the winner?
I actually expect Miller to win. They're favored to win with all their stuff they're doing.
I kind of favor Miller as well, but we'll see. Doc, one final call?
4.
Oh no,
3,
Emerald may
2,
pull this out.
1. Go, go, go.
And that is it. We're live. This is the 2015 tournament final. Miller playing Nancy versus Emerald playing the Terran Republic on Amerish. And we have our typical Reaver-heavy air pool from the beginning. I'm not actually seeing many Galaxies or any Liberators. What's going on the Terran side?
Same thing, actually.
They're also pushing out. Go ahead.
Less Galaxies, but a lot more Mozzies.
Yeah, they're bringing in tons of Mossies. We're going to see if these are going to be Bailers or guys are going to hang out and wait for the initial contact. There's been a lot of change over all the matches. Used to be everybody would bail immediately, and then you started having people hanging out and kind of waiting for the initial contact. We already got initial Bailers over at Rockslide Outlook.
We got some funny over at SNA, mostly air.
We have a number of drops at Araxcom substation, but it looks like there's more Miller Air Force here. Miller's Air Force is, Miller's only on Araxcom substation. So we're going to check this out. They've got a drop. I think they're going to, they start hacking the anti-air terminals. That's a lot of maxes, I believe. So Miller's opening play right from the beginning is to go for a Macalla auxiliary compound, and we see the number of maxes is heavy. The first pull we should say at the beginning is that, oh wow, Emerald dunked a Galaxy on the roof, and we're having an anti-air turret off. But the shoots, as we're saying, the first set of...
Who will be the winner?
Yes. So we're saying the first set of nanites are free because you get to reinforce. Right. So Miller's actually got, like, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 maxes in this capture building. 3 minutes to go. As we check the rest of the map, we see Emerald has the more pop on SNA, but they're waiting for the shields to tick down. Split Peak Pass is entirely empty because of the large base. Entirely empty at Ravens and Rockslide. Oh, Miller's playing extremely hardball at Bastion. Check that, 48.96. And we see Emerald has overpopped on Mineshaft and going for Soltech charging stations. So Miller's population is... They're at pop basically on the west.
Airball over Raxicom. The Miller airball is definitely they're all hovering around the main mountain, hovering around the ascent. They obviously want that air launching base, so they've even got their repair Galaxy in the air, keeping them alive.
So the question now is, we see that Emerald has roof control at Macalla auxiliary compound. They have access to the siding flanks. Miller has no options for reinforcements. We see Emerald Air Forces overhead on the tech plant. With 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go, this is going to be a big ask for Miller. They've got an investment.
Big fight over Macalla, Emerald Air Force and Miller Air Force going head to head, and Emerald Air Force is crushing all the air hammers from a distance. They are not playing around.
In this instance, Miller has to dive in, right, because of the air hammers.
You got to get close.
I'm not sure I would have pulled air hammers at the beginning if I was Miller. I think I'd go for air superiority first and then swap.
It's what they're used to. If you look at the kill stats for the last several games for Miller, it's air hammer almost all the way. A lot of guys don't even run breaker pods. They just run straight air hammer and just rush in as fast as they can, get in close and pop you. Unfortunately, the Miller air pilots do have more of a tendency to run into each other in the air.
Do you think Emerald might have stacked Air Force at the beginning to get the first opening engagement?
Yeah. You've got to. I mean, I don't know. I've not been in any of the leadership meetings, unfortunately. There's a lot of things I would do, and that was one of them. Immediately crush the Miller Air Force and deny them a central air base And then everywhere that they have plane spawners, keep them out. Destroy the spawners, put snipers on them. Do not let those air hammers get in the air. That's what I would do.
Air battle is going on. Twin Galaxies on the... that's it. It looks like the cap point. So Miller's been pushed off McCall Auxiliary Compound. There was a 60% pop advantage, and all of Miller's dead. Now, that did cost Emerald a lot of resources in terms of nanites. From there, that's true. So we see SNA, Miller's now actually popping in subterranean nanite analysis. They're up to 59% with the base ticking down. We also see Miller sending 2 squads to split peak pass, but they don't have all the capture points. Raven's Landing's about to go through, as is Rock Slide. Miller has 2 squads ready in Lithcorp Central, and it's Miller that's put a huge number of people on the Bastion. Is this an overcommittal of population? Because I think Emerald's about to get first blood with Soltech Charging Station.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I said. Bastion's a people suck. It's kind of a last-ditch effort, but I think probably what it is that Miller's realized they're not going to get the ascent, so they need to get up on Bastion and use that as their central takeoff spot. They need a central Air Force base, and it looks I'm already seeing the Air Force is already retreating and pulling back.
Oh, you're breaking up, mate, a little bit. But yes, we see that with a minute to go, the Emerald Force is extremely aggressively pushed Miller right back to Banana. Miller having extremely difficult time to get to the capture point. We also see multiplier of Sunders. But the problem is it's 58%. Some Miller Air Forces turned up. Oh, really? What did we get?
I'm not sure.
Oh, Raven's Landing.
One up too.
Raven's Landing and then Rock Slide's gone through. So Miller's already in Lithcorp Central. We could see that a very strong play by Miller after Lithcorp Central going to Rock Slide Outlook. Bastion. The thing is, if I'm Emerald, I might dunk a whole bunch of population on Bastion and take it at the last moment. So for Miller to commit so much population is very risky. And
Miller has deployed their whole Air Force there.
But 23 seconds to go. We actually see some Miller guys outside on the capture point. There's 1, 2. No, we got some reinforcements from Emerald coming back, pushing down the Miller guys. Miller is across. They are making it to the capture point, but with 13 seconds to go, it's going to be a last-second save.
Oh, they're bombing the living crap out of A point, but they got 5 seconds to go. It might not be enough.
Here comes a heavy assault. It needs to kill 2 people.
Will they get the clutch? Oh, and it is too late.
There we go. Emerald takes it. So Emerald gets first true base blood at Soltech Charging Station. And now, if Miller gets the Bastion, that is fine from Miller's point of view. The Bastion is more valuable to Soltech. You can push back there. We see McCall Auxiliary Compound is almost fully saved, and there's actually fighting going on at Raxicom Substation already, although it's low numbers, but they still can't do anything for 30 seconds. Split Peak, I think there's an overcommittal of Miller's numbers at Split Peak. Subterranean analysis, wow, Emerald just dunked the population, 4 to 8 plus.
Well, that's what Soltech was for. Pull the entire Air Force out of the flipping way. That's why it's over there. I mentioned that northern base is like that. You go over there to pull everybody out of the way to try to protect it because it's important for you not to let them push that lane because it's really hard to get back.
Problem here with Miller is that this is an incredibly important base. I don't see any Miller Air Force. And
the Miller Air Force is going cross-continent. They're just still leaving Soltech, and they're just slowly encroaching on the main mountain.
No,
I'm not entirely sure where they're headed, but they're going cross-continent.
Miller perhaps showed their hand perhaps a little bit too early, but there's already a Sunder in here. There's already a Harasser in here. Plus we have a Max on the capture point, and they're watching all the entrances. There's no way that Miller can actually run in 30 seconds, and this is an incredibly important base for Emerald because it sets the tone on the eastern lane. It means that you will not push any further. Normally smaller outposts can go back and forth, but this is one where it's actually extremely difficult. And we see Miller's actually
their entire airport to protect the Bastion at this moment, and the TR sent a couple of Galaxies in, but against the Miller Air Force, that's not going to happen.
Well, we also see Miller's counterattacking with a 6% popular advantage at Soltech Charging Station, and I wonder once the beginning play calms down, we might not see as many population imbalances, but I think Miller's just playing too much on large bases. Yes, that's Emerald taking up SNA. We see Split Peak. See, the thing is, Miller had 24-48 on Split Peak, so what you'll maybe find is that the guys who defended SNA might defend Zealous Northgate, but re-pushing back into SNA is just going to be horrendous. You might as well just sacrifice that base entirely and make sure you get Split Peak, but are you committing too many people
Emerald
there?
Drop on the B point as well on Bastion. They are not going to let this one go without a fight, but the Miller Air Force is not having it. Miller Air Force is fully committed to taking the Bastion. They need their airport.
Well, the Bravo point is captured, and it stalls the capture down to 3 minutes. It does give 3 minutes in ServerSmash is plenty time. This gives Emerald enough time to dunk everything they have on Bastion, because that is the next focal point. Miller's going to get Soltic Charging Station probably back, because I think the real fight is at Bastion. This is like where it really matters. And we see Miller's also getting oh wait, no, Emerald's gone to Lithcorp Central because Miller hasn't stayed to defend it. So Emerald is actually doing a takeaway off Miller. Thanks for doing all the work, we'll now take the base. And the deployed Sunder from Miller, oh, the forces have left, they've gone to Bastion. So this is bad for Miller, because when Emerald takes this, you can guarantee they will try and attack Raven Landing and then surround the Ascent and prevent the capture going through.
Oh yeah.
Bastion's
like I said,
minute
if Emerald
10.
was doing what they need to be doing, that is make sure that the Ascent does not fall in the hands of the NC. But the NC are doing their second best, which is pull into the Bastion. They don't have the high ground, but it's at least an airport, and they need a central airport.
And it's only a couple of guys here from Emerald that's doing this. It's like maybe 12 people at most from Emerald is taking the Lithcorp Central
That's
cap.
all you need, baby.
It's proper use of numbers, and Emerald's going to get this base. And the question is to see whether or not Raven's Landing comes in contention. Now, Miller's played a big...
Lithcorp is fallen.
So Miller's played big for Bastion. I mean, they have committed heavily in numbers, but it looks like they will get Soltic Charging Station, and they'll get Bastion back. They need to make a save at Araxicum substation, but if the Air Force is free, they can go there.
We got some Terrans running in for the C point. Let's see if they make it in far enough. They're trying to mitigate, but they just
no, not on 2 seconds. No, okay, so now Miller needs to kind of diffuse the forces, perhaps push into the internals of West Foothills Air Dock, perhaps Araxicum substation. Perhaps they want to take Lithcorp Central back or go for the Ascent, but the next main key point is going to be Zealous North Gate and Araxicum substation.
Yeah, and Miller now has their central airport, and they have a central airport force. They might be able to use that to accost the Ascent and keep Emerald from pushing in there. We'll see.
So the Miller Air Force is over Araxicum substation. This is the weakness of this particular area. They have themselves their own Sundra, and it's really just infantry forces that is left for Emerald. And if anything, it looks like token forces with beacon drops. So we have a Miller squad incoming around the west, and I don't see how Emerald can hold... No, not with that run from the spawn room. Okay, this con's coming in. So Araxicum substation is going to be saved. It looks like Miller's also saved Zealous Northgate with a repop. Now, the next... And we see Miller's also doing a slight offensive cap Araxicum network hub. Nobody's really going for the Ascent yet. It's not ticking down. Emerald still has forces at Lithcorp Central, and Soltic Charging Station is now going back the other direction. Emerald's taking it back with minute 40. Now,
just trying to keep the pressure on. That's all that is.
Sorry,
it's just pressure, trying to draw people over.
As I was trying to say, sorry, we see it's Miller doing the Sundra dunking on Delta, very much an Emerald tactic we've seen a couple of times, but now it's Miller that's doing it. And the next base that matters, large outposts, is Split Peak Pass. Can Emerald come in because it's a more open area for Air Force to drop in? This is the next element of the opening play. What happens at Split Peak? Miller's playing big for the Bastion. They got it. They're playing big for Split Peak. They're currently getting it with 90 seconds to go. Is Emerald going to turn up with population and try and steal this last moment? Look at this, 48-96. I don't know
what Emerald's going to do. Emerald seems to be committed to taking the Bastion for some reason.
Raven's Landing.
They would do that.
So Emerald is playing big, 12-24 Raven's Landing. If they surround the Ascent, then they can take it for free.
Yeah. But it's all, look at the number of people, not percentages, but number of people they've committed to the Bastion and to Soltec. That's where they're putting their money, their chips right now.
The thing is, Miller has enough time, I believe, with 1 minute and 10 seconds. Yes, they have enough time to take Split Peak and then go and save Raven's Landing. And they're still saving Araxicum substation, and Zealous Northgate is being saved as well. The offensive attack at Araxicum Network Hub is still going on, but that's kind of small numbers. And it looks like, yes, it's 2-1 numbers in favor of Emerald all the way off from the western flank.
I'm surprised Emerald hasn't started the timer for the Ascent. This seems crazy.
Right, we're seeing the first set of mosquitoes. Okay, we see the Terran Republic mosquitoes coming in from the north. It's really just air battles. Miller's Air Force is here. I mean, they are all over A, B, and C. After Sunders and Delta, I don't see, honestly, how Emerald could hope to take this base back. I mean, yes, you can steal it the last second, but Miller's just sent everyone here to force the issue. 25 seconds to go.
Was pointing out that the game seems to mess with my microphone. I'm not entirely sure why.
It's okay. You're
it's
fine.
Only when I have it loaded up.
Okay, checking on the rest of the map. I'm not seeing anything. And checking the population. There's a huge amount of Emerald population from Bukala Ox. Is that them coming in? Here comes the first of the galaxy over the A point. And he says nope. Perhaps he was part of the air group. Oh, they're trying to galaxy ram. They're trying to ram the Miller galaxies. Okay.
There goes Split Peak.
Split Peak. So that's the second major neutral base is captured by Miller. We see Emerald has a pop advantage at Bastion. Raven's Landing is still ticking down 2 minutes to go, although it's closer to a 50-50 pop. Miller has the objective now to counter-attack. We see that the Soltech charging station, Emerald took it, didn't take it. I'm confused. I'm not watching that all the time. But anyway, it's stalling the cap point right now, and it looks like it's a Miller offensive. We have a reinforcement.
Miller has committed a lot of people to Ravens.
They just dropped a group. We see an Emerald Sunder hiding behind the the ammo terminal, but the vehicle ammo terminal, that is. But no, the Air Force is here, the Galaxies are here, the infantry knows exactly where it is, and it's 1 minute 40 till save. That means the Ascent is not going to be a free base. Bastion is still being heavily contested, 48 to 96 by Emerald. However, it's a slow. Oh wait, they have all 3 capture points, and wait, no, Miller's taking back the Alpha capture point, and the fact is Miller can now balance their populations out. The cap that was going at Raxicom Network Hub has stalled and is now going back the way, although it's a kind of a tempo play. We see a Raxicom substation is again under threat by Emerald, but the important thing I want to see is East Hill's checkpoint is Miller's also attacking that now. So it looks like a harassment cap more than anything else. There's so much Air Force over substation right now. Yeah, so that's probably not going anywhere. But the Miller is playing big for East Hill's checkpoint. I guess they just want to lock down. Yeah, we see that there's Sunder. So the fact is, the forces that were on the far eastern lane, the subterranean analysis and the Zealous Northgate, they'll have to make a save there. But they're probably doubling up on the East Hill's checkpoint, the Miller group here. And this is an extremely difficult base to defend because as the defenders, your spawn room is way over on the east and you have to pass through the terrain, cross the open road, then into an isolated capture point that's sunken beneath tons of high ground with, we see stealth sunders deployed. So that the respawn options for the attackers is significantly closer. And wow, a number of Vanguards. This is interesting. Shooting at the Galaxies of Emerald. Okay, I guess that works.
Nice. They found him camping out above Bastion, or did they move?
Oh wow! But the Vanguard just got absolutely C4'd. The capture point is flickering. I wonder why. Was it just an infiltrator? We had a couple of one infil from the Terran Republic. Air Force from the TR has taken out the Stealth Sunder and is coming in from the north along with the Air Force. So Emerald beginning to respond.
Walkers being pulled though. Starting to see Walker Sunders being pulled by Miller, and they're actually going to counter some of this Air Force.
Mozzie going into Mozzie. Yeah, we see the Emerald Air Force has turned up. They're just laying into Miller's ground forces. No Miller air here right now. Populations are 50-50, but most of that's kind of air controlled by Emerald. I think they're trying to get rid of the multipliers before they go for the capture point. It doesn't guarantee a base capture though, so we'll have to see whether or not the infantry turns up here for Emerald. Elsewhere,
it's a massive Air Force. I'm starting to wonder how many players each team brought for their Air Force. Jeez.
Indeed. So Zealous Northgate's been saved. Araxicum substation is a 50-50 fight, 24 plus, going in Emerald's favour again, but you have to favour once the Air Force turns up for Miller. It's a very difficult base to capture. 60 seconds here on East Hill's checkpoint. If we also look over, we see Miller is now attacking Lithcorp Central, and Emerald has population on the Ascent. So Miller isn't going to be able to cut off the Ascent in time before the Ascent goes through, so they will probably have to send forces there soon. Miller has a huge population trying to get a resave on Bastion, 48 to 96, way more than perhaps is necessary. But we also see that Emerald is now not only have they captured Soltech, indeed, now they're pushing to Soltech.
The Ascent.
But the thing is, Miller has plenty of time to leave the Bastion and go forward, but perhaps Miller's just saying, we want to make a save here so we can push into the two other bases that Bastion's linked to.
Just in case the team is messing with you. You don't want to take any chances and think that you know better. Don't underestimate your opponent. That's how Emerald has lost the matches that they lost, is when they underestimate their opponent. I don't think Miller makes those mistakes anymore.
16 seconds. Galaxy overhead for, I think it's perhaps just an Air Force one rather than actually squad. Miller retreating into the capture point. 7 seconds to go. We got this, guys. Right? Yeah? No? Maybe? They've got so many people in the building. One grenade would get them all, but it looks like they've got it. So that is East Hills, and the question is, can they then move out? Have they got people at Anatha Southwest Gate? Doesn't look like it at the moment. Emerald is now committing to reinforce Raxcom sub. There's no Miller? Yes. Okay, so yes, there are some Miller infantry forces here. It's kind of small numbers. In terms of multipliers, we've got one Emerald Sunder, one Emerald Harasser. And I believe this is partially some elements of Miller Air Force. However, they're being engaged immediately by Mosquitoes and Liberators. Not paying attention, they have to look up. When you're air hammering, you don't look up, and that's exactly what the Mosquitoes are doing. They're attacking them from above.
Yeah, I've noticed that Emerald was really sticking with high altitude with their Air Force. I didn't really think about why until you just mentioned it. It's like, that makes sense. I've also noticed that Emerald has captured both turrets on the ascent, and the entire Air Force is sitting above it. They are committed to this 3-minute capture they got to do, because they still don't have an airport, and they need this one.
Wow, Lithcorp Central.
At least flip these terminals.
Lithcorp Central's turned into a 48+.
Nice.
How long in Lithcorp Central? Minute 11. That's first. I'm going to go check that fight out.
I'm coming with you.
I just heard Maelstrom. There's a digs here. Top men are on the capture point. Yep, deployed Sundra. Men. Yes, top men. Who? So we have 51 seconds to go. Miller's galaxies are on the south side, so they're not necessarily contributing, other than the one that we see right now on stream. Emerald is right on top, right on the capture point. The fact is, Miller's got an extremely challenging job for the next 35 seconds. No, I don't think they'll get it, honestly.
No, they seem well protected. They got a Sunderer on the point. There doesn't seem to be enough Miller really charging what's going on. They're going to have to lead them with a lot more grenade spam if they're going to do anything about what's on this point. Oh, they just got pegged with the EMP, though. That might be what they need.
The thing is, so long as Miller's lost their deployed Sunder. I was going to say, so long as they have their deployed Sunder, they can just mop up the attackers from Emerald, and the respawn runtime is much longer.
Infiltrator trying to take the point.
Yeah, they're up to 58% and looks like it's going to be safe. Oh, check it out. Ascent. Miller has now dunked extra population, so perhaps the pop that was Ascent has gone to Lithcourt to make a save, but now Ascent's going back in favor of Miller now.
All right, well, that's it for Lithcorp A point. Apparently,
Araxicom sub, 17 seconds. 13 seconds. Looks like Emerald's going to get blood here. Miller going for the Ascent and not going for the save on Araxicom substation. It means that the push into East Hills checkpoint, Split Peak Pass, is still vulnerable now because of the Araxicom substation. And the question is...
Damn, Back's bringing the pain. And they said they weren't going to play.
Yes, so... The thing is, where does Emerald go now from Araxicom substation? They have to go into Rax's Firearms, or do they go into Split Peak Pass? Both of them large outposts, both of them multi-pointers. Very difficult to take. Perhaps they just play for population sucking.
And gets you further ahead immediately. That's probably a better call. You might want to merge your lanes. I mean, you already have so much fighting going over Lithcorp and the Ascent, though. Oh, it's such a difficult call, because then you can also
the Ascent is 60 seconds, though. This is the last of the opening play large points.
When did that happen?
They did it when, but check the number of Banshees or Mosquitoes firing over in Bravo. So the Air Force is definitely here for Emerald. We're not seeing the Miller Air Force over the Ascent. So the capture point...
This will change the tempo of battle. If they lose the Ascent, they are in a lot of trouble. Emerald is.
Emerald is taking the Charlie Point? Yes, okay, Charlie Point. Yes. There is, however, an option to do a deployed Sunder here, which nobody has for the C point, because that's an up jump to C. It's now made a...
That we forgot. While Emerald was here committed to taking the Ascent, since it's a neutral base, Miller could just sweep in and just snatch it up at the last second.
Well, they've come a bit early, if you wanted to snap at the last second, but the fact is Miller's
they
got...
didn't, but they could have.
They've got the cave lockdown, but the Bravo point has been heavily contested. The Charlie point is firmly in Emerald's favour at the moment. I'm not seeing any options where Miller can turn up and help. And the Air Force from Emerald here is what's making this possible because of the open, exposed nature of Bravo and Charlie. And it's still a 2.5 minute base capture, but this time it's flipped in favour of Emerald because basically 1 point is held by enemy. It's 96 plus for both teams, my goodness. We still have the numbers.
Well, you know what base they want, don't you?
Yes, indeed. So Miller's saving Zealous North. There was a slight overpop by Raxcom, but it's reducing. Miller's pushed... and is pushing into Raxcom Network Hub. They're losing West Footlands Air Dock, and it looks like, Miller's actually going to capture Solchek charging stations. We'll go over there briefly. So this base is just going back and forth as teams send and take away extra numbers. Fifth, 14 seconds to go. Sunder on the point with the max. Emerald's close to the capture point, but I don't think it's enough to take it. So Miller's probably going to get the space. And tell you what, this is a tie game when this goes through.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was tied earlier. It was 49-49.
There we go. So that's probably the Mib-Vert group, if that's Vib there. We see that Bastion's always been slightly harassed. Ascent still won at minute 30. Now back in Miller's favour.
They saved the B point.
My goodness. I think this is like the last. We saw it at Bastion. We saw it really see it at Split Peak, to be honest, because Miller had the Air Force control at the time. But now we're definitely seeing it I think everyone's coming here. The value of the ascent can't be diminished.
Yeah, it's too valuable. You could afford to lose 1 or 2 bases. To
Oh,
get
all
this
3
central
points in the
airport.
hands of Miller. It's
Yeah.
just
And they got
effective
17
manipulation
seconds.
of pop. Wow.
And they've jumped on it ahead of time. Emerald will not have enough time to react to this, so this will definitely go to Miller. The thing is to see how it plays out, because somehow Emerald has been able to keep
also-
their Air Force pounding without a central Air Force. I mean, central airport.
And that is
There
it.
it
So,
is.
so important things to note here. What has happened so far? This is all the neutral territory has gone through. So let's take stock of this map. It is still 49-50, an extremely close game. However, very important factors: the Bastion, the Ascent, and Split Peak Pass, all large outposts, very difficult to take when the enemy owns them, are all in the hands of Miller. Very important. However, Emerald has taken subterranean analysis, in its own right considered a large base, very difficult to take. There are a lot of options for Miller to push back Emerald. However, Emerald, if they want to push, they have to push into these large outposts. So although Miller is ahead by 1 point, I also give them a slight higher advantage because they have the larger bases that are harder to capture. We see Miller's going for Raxcom Network Hub, and we see some fighting going at Rax's Firearms Court, but Miller can just send population back because it's not a 4-minute base capture, it's much longer than that. So we'll see how the game progresses now, and we'll see whether or not Emerald, still doing extremely well, can apply pressure and take the large outposts back. And the thing is, it's such a close game, they don't need to take the large outposts. All they need to do is take East
Miller
Hills.
has a great defensible position, and they're already starting to make use of their brandly new acquired central airport at the Ascent. So they're in a really sweet position to hold down and continue to push on these points. And now Emerald has to sort of figure out how they're going to attack without a central point with which to spawn their Air Force. And this is going to be difficult for them. I'm not entirely sure how they're going to pull this one off, but they have to turn it around now. The game has just started, and if they continue to let stuff go this way, the momentum is just slightly shifted in favor of Miller. And if Miller plays their cards right, they can keep it pushing, and then Emerald will just be defensive for the next hour and a half.
So we see Miller, 60 seconds to go on East Hills checkpoint, trying to take the point back. And this is what I'm saying. Emerald does not need to capture the large outposts. And actually we see them trying to capture Raven's Landing to cut off the Ascent. That would be a very good play by Emerald. However, what I'm getting at is because it's such a close game, there are numerous small... Wow, actually Miller's managed to get subterranean analysis, break through the shields and go for it. But all they need is one base. So for example, when this base goes through in the next 36 seconds, because I don't see how Miller can take it back with harassers and infantry and Air Force, then Emerald is in the lead again. And it's all about these small bases. So like there's bases on the western flank, deserted mineshaft, Celtic charging station, between Kwati Amp Station, Ickenham Biolab and the Bastion. There's tons of small outposts, and including going north from Bastion and around the Ascent there's a number of small outposts. So the fact is the large outposts are great focal points to rely on, but it will not determine the game if Emerald doesn't choose to go for them.
Yeah, you know what? Nanai Sub is such an easily defensible position. If you give Miller another really easy base to defend, that'll be a problem.
Yeah, but
So Emerald caps another base, but it doesn't tie the game up quite yet. It just pulls a little bit of their favor.
Alright, let's go check out SNA. It's don't normally see a faction choose to attack SNA. We see Stealth Sunder, max reinforcements, only one spawn option. I think that's a danger, although it is stealth for the...
What's funny is the shield is up, but they're on 8 points.
Oh, so it must have been repaired, but it's only 30 seconds to go. If we...
Yeah, but it's like if you repair it, you should easily be able to clear out the enemies down there.
Okay, well they are there. Okay, so but you can also come in from the other direction. You can run around the side from the back wall. Now the question is, SNE is such a tricky base to defend, to get into. Such a defender's favorite. Miller's got to ask for reinforcements. They have to, because it's such a powerful base to capture. But at the same time, you can't afford to lose Raven's Landing and then have the Ascent cap from behind you. So I think it's more of an instance of defend the base you have rather than reinforce the base that you don't. However,
we have defensive captures too, and it looks like they're starting to resecure the A point.
It's one heavy. No, it's one info. One info on the cap point.
You go put pressure on a base that you know your enemy needs, so they pull their pop in order to save it.
Oh man, the maxes are being pulled as well. We see about 10 maxes.
I see that. They're really starting to rush that A point.
Points flipped, but there's not enough multipliers. We don't see like the. Oh wait, no, sorry.
They got a harasser.
They have got a harasser. Now, the thing is, can the canister harasser?
Talking about pulling maxes themselves.
Now that harasser is not necessarily doing anything for the. Maxes on the far side of the capture point, but
Max
then again,
on
the
the
Max
A-point
is
is
not
not watching his back for
actually...
zombies.
Yeah, there's reinforcements from Miller here. It's 60 seconds, but Miller's out-popped 55 to 44. All the spawn options on the outside we can see are dead.
Crash. The zombies are just on fire on the A-point. Miller has so many medics on A-point, it is ridiculous. Look, it is a squad of medics.
It's can you res more than the TR can Daka?
Yes,
They'll run out of ammo.
They did, because all the maxes are down.
I don't.
That was a brilliant move.
48
what
seconds
do
to
we call that back in
go.
the day?
I don't know, man,
Medic
but
ball?
Medic ball, yes. Well, there's 48 seconds to go. 43, 42, 41, and Miller has no spawn options, no reinforcements, entirely cut off. They're fighting literally at the capture point. This will be a miracle if they get this. Emerald with the population advantage. Population advantage? Yes,
Emerald needs way
60%
more
population
grenades
advantage.
to do anything about this.
I can't believe it. There's no... Oh, here we
Those
go.
medics
Now
are
they're
bound to
pushing
be
in.
out
Here's
of
the call.
medic grenades, so there they go. But there is a Max, a scat Max on the point. He's holding out as long as he can, and down he goes. And Emerald swarms
That
the
was
living
brutal.
crap out of
22
A-point and
seconds.
saves it at the last second.
Now, what did that cost? The fact is, 48.96
Oh
was
my gosh,
pulled
it
in.
cost them so much population. Who
Ravens
knows what
Landing.
base they're going to lose.
Ravens Landing was a save, so if both teams theoretically win there, the Ascent isn't
Yeah,
captured. We have a fresh
Ravens
attack.
win as intended then. Ravens was to pull people off of SNA.
So-
At least that's what we thought it was.
If I am Miller, and I talk from Miller's point of view, a threatening SNE was great. It pulled in lots of population. I save Ravens Landing. Now we can attack Lithcorp Central, Rockslide. If I can get Lithcorp Central and Rockslide, that's fantastic. The number of bases that can theoretically be attacked is reduced by 4. Fantastic. Pushing north, you want to harass the north bases, that's fine. You've got Soul Tech. Pushing Deserted Mineshaft as possible.
There's 1.5 hour remaining in the match. Now, 90 minutes remaining.
Okay.
At 1.5 hours, why don't we take a look at those stats and actually see if the Airhammer is performing as well as we'd expect?
Sure, well, while I bring up the stats for the Airhammer, why don't you tell us what you think Emerald should do in this play? Like, what is their goals in this match?
Well, their goal needs to be to continue to deny that Air Force, because that is what Miller uses to back up their attacks. They pull that Air Force and you make sure they don't have it. And it's a double-edged sword, though, because Miller will do this. They'll run the platoon of their Air Force, but they'll pull some extra Air Forces back up. And the extra Air Force, if it's available to them, they'll use it and burn up their nanites and not be able to use that for maxes and grenades. So you kind of pick your battle there. And I think what Emerald's going to do is they're going to try to play a little bit defensively, but try to pull some more bases. These central, easily to defend bases such as the Ascent and Bastion are going to be very difficult to take. So I got a feeling they're going to go north and start pushing people in Soul Tech charging in order to draw population north.
So we're checking the stats out. Miller has a slight lead in terms of kills, just under 3,000 compared to the 2,400 for Emerald. In terms of guns, Anchor's top, NSWR is second, the Airhammer is on 286 at the moment, and rocket pods are 186.
Yeah, that's pretty low for Miller. Miller usually does way better than that. I like
Early
for
days.
Full game, if you look at their stats, it's
Check out
almost
Lithcorp Central.
2,000 kills for the full game. So we're about a quarter of the way through, and you'd expect 500. They are just accosting the living crap out of Lithcorp Central right now.
That timeline is crazy. Check this out, guys. It's basically Emerald takes the lead, then Miller catches up, then it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And where we currently are right now, Emerald currently in the ascendancy by 1 base.
And that's the game we wanted to see, right? Let's see if we can keep it up
Heck
for another
yeah.
hour and a half, though.
So, the thing is, Miller's tried to get Lithcorp, didn't quite get it. Tried to go for Rockslide, didn't quite get it. Miller's counter-attacking Araxicum substation. If they get it, this is the thing, it's 1 base in this, and Emerald has a lot of tenuous bases that can easily be kind of taken. Araxicum substation, with air control, you can take it, and it's 3.5 minutes. Lithcorp Central, horrendous base to try and attack with Air Force and how you do it in the Sunders and whatnot, and the way the reform's in, but it's so stretched out by Emerald. Miller's going to focus on this to prevent Raven Landing and the Ascent and Bastion all being attacked.
You also have to consider what Emerald's been doing for these last few minutes is they've been defending and defending and defending. And if you keep the enemy on defense, they can't launch their offense, and that will give you the favor that you need to win this game. It's one of Limgar's oldest tactics. Attack every single base and never be on the defense, always be on the offense, and the other team can do nothing but react.
I found a pair of Prowlers. Hello. The pair of Prowlers, they're on the road south of Liftcourt Central on their direction towards Raven's Landing. Okay. I'm not entirely sure how productive they're being, but they're there. And there's also
They're going rogue, man.
There's an AA nest / AV nest on Liftcourt Central on the bottom right-hand hex there. Okay, so we'll go to Raxcom substation. We see Emerald is actually repopping now, and I wonder if this game's so close and all the lanes are under so much pressure that these bases are just proving too difficult to capture at the time being. We see.
Oh, I know what they're shooting at. Look at the mountain. Miller has a bunch of guys just on the hillside. They're firing at the tanks are firing at them.
Oh, check this out.
I'm not entirely sure what they're doing
East
up there.
Hills checkpoint, 2440 again. Because of the nature of the base, this will flip the game back in their favor. And also, West Foothills Air Dock is also going through with 2 minutes to go. And
it looks like, look what Emerald has done. They dumped everyone on Araxicom substation with a minute to go. They're banking on Araxicom.
They've got a save, but the thing is, where does that get them? Well, it gets them a save, but it doesn't necessarily get them an opportunity to split peak or Araxis Farms.
In the backfield.
Yeah, and with 2 minutes 16 to go, Miller's got himself very heavy Sunder forces and with some Air Force Galaxies on the capture point at East Hills checkpoint. Emerald isn't to be seen bar that one max on the cap point. What? Emerald has a max on the capture point at East Hills checkpoint. He just can't literally do anything.
I see him. Oh, he's dead.
He's dead. That's a shame. I guess.
He wasn't going to cap it anyway.
Well, Miller's playing smart.
If you look at the map, Emerald's still trying to defend. Most of their guys are deployed in defensive positions, and it looks like they might have to give up East Hills checkpoint as a result of it, because you can't defend everything.
Miller saved Zealous Northgate, and the Ascent is under attack, 5 minutes 20, but it's roughly 50-50 numbers. We see that Emerald has dunked 75% population of West Foothills Air Dock. Miller's attacking Deserted Mine Shaft. That's a fresh cap, 3.5 minutes. Gosh, it's going on everywhere. We'll watch the conclusion. Oh wait, the capture point. There was actually nobody from Miller.
Only actively attacked base for Miller. So that's the only base to defend. Everything else is an attack for them, which is the way that they want it and the way you want to keep it.
So Miller didn't have anyone on the capture point at East Hills checkpoint. It's cost them about 10 seconds. They've got it back. We can see that Emerald's beginning to spawn in. The proxy Sunderers and all the Air Force that they have and force multipliers on the northern rocks. Wow, there's actually quite a few Valkyries. But anyway, the point I'm getting at is that we're not seeing anybody from Emerald necessarily getting across the road. We see kind of rockets and AA perhaps coming from the spawn room.
They're still rolling in at this point.
But yeah, they're going to have to come by air from behind or do something. And I'd like to see from Miller.
They've deployed a deserted mine shaft. It looks like they shot across the map to try to save that one instead.
I wouldn't mind seeing from Miller perhaps more vehicles on the road preventing access to the double building, but again, perhaps that's not necessary. If you stay up high, you can use your anti-air.
I'm worried about East Hills because they could just cut it off. I'm not sure why they're not really. They don't really seem to be committed to
cutting it
East
off.
Hills.
That involves a split peak cap, and that is not easy. That is like the Ascent and Bastion and Firearms. It's just they're not easy bases to take. See, Ascent, first couple of minutes, we already see Miller popping up to 65% on the 12-24, and they're going to be taking Ascent back in a save soon enough.
It looks actually.
Liftcorp Central is another attack. We'll go check that in a second.
Look at Arax's Firearms Corp pop. It actually looks like they're staging an attack in the Firearms, and I think they're actually going to march to the Warp Gate and try to cut the whole right side of the map off.
It makes sense, but it's Firearms. It's a 3-point base where your Air Force.
Oh, they saved East Hills. What?
No, I'm not necessarily. I'm here at East Hills. It's like a couple of guys jumping on the point. It's going back the way. 25 seconds. They're just not getting to the capture building. That's the problem. Miller has all the high ground. Oh, hello. A couple of Galaxies. Some Mosquitoes coming in with 15 seconds to go. By the time it gets here, it's going to have like a second. Let's see.
They don't have afterburners on those Galaxies.
I don't think there's anyone in the Galaxy either.
Ah, well, that's unfortunate. Yep, 8 seconds.
What?
This is done and
See, there
done.
is! I don't believe it. They're going to lose the base, and they drop people on the Sunders. The Galaxy Pipe dropped on the Sunders. He could have dropped on the capture point. I'm not saying they could have saved the base, but when you've got 5 seconds to go, you don't take out the spawn option. You go for the point.
They probably committed to that well before they realized they didn't have time. That's the difficult thing in this game is realizing what you have time to do. And if you don't manage what you have time to do, you can really get wrecked. It's something that Lemgard constantly stresses. He actually watches the map and knows how long it takes each faction aerial vehicle to get to each base from another one, and knows how long it's going to take, and also knows that these timers are not actual time. They run a little bit faster, so he's got a pretty good feel for that. But that's why, like, after a match, like, you can't see him for a week because his brain is just fried.
Yep, well, we see that the attack at West Foothills Air Dock is stopped. The attack on Deserted Mineshaft has also been stopped. Big committal, 70% population by Emerald there. So there's a 2.5 minute tempo play from Miller to decide where they want to go. We see that Miller's got a very small 1 through 12 going for Araxicom Network Hub. The Lithcorp cap has stopped.
Southwest.
We see Miller immediately respond to the Raxus Firearms Corp, literally immediately. And you're right, Anatha Southwest is the next base along the line that has been threatened up to the Biolab. I guess they might want to try and take the Biolab. I mean, if I was Miller's perspective, I want to get Araxicom substation back because it's giving me heart palpitations every time they go for Firaxis Firearms. I wouldn't like that. And if I'm Emerald, that's how I threaten. I get Lithcorp Central, I take Raven's Landing, I cut off a Ascent, and if a Ascent's cut off, I get it for free, I reconnect it with Araxis Firearms, I take the base. But at the same time, it's only 1 point in this. You know, so you don't need to be this elaborate big comeback scenario. You need a base, and there are plenty of bases. East Hills Checkpoint is a very vulnerable one that can be recaptured by Emerald, and they can take the win here.
You know what? Emerald's actually committed a pretty sizable force, about half a platoon, over to Araxis Firearms. They have not been able to actually get the timer going. They've got a point, which is the important point on that base, but they haven't been able to get the timer moving for, I don't know, the last 5-6 minutes they've been here. And I think they're trying to do basically what it looks like through the Alnatha side that Miller's trying to do. They're both trying to make a push on each other's warp gate, cut off some territories, trying to move that scoreboard in their favor more.
Thing is,
clever play. Let's see if it pays off.
When we get later in the game, like much closer to the final, we'll see very big plays. And if I'm Emerald, I have to be aware that I could be attacked at Rockslide. Miller could dunk all the population on Rockslide and lose one base for it, but they would cut off Lithcorp Central and they would get the territory advantage. So Emerald currently has more theoretical to lose the way the last lines are working out.
Well, right now, if you look at the map, Emerald's completely on the defensive. They're not attacking a single base, and this is how you know the tempo is in favor of Miller. While they may only have 1 percentage point up on territory, they have the map right where they want it, which is making sure that Emerald is
nearly where they want it. Yeah, Emerald still has some favors in their hand.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, Emerald's going to put up a fight. This is the finals. But unless Emerald can start actually attacking bases, they're not going to be able to turn this one around. Instead, they're just going to burn up nanites trying to defend.
Yep, and we see the Miller force on the capture point and after Southwest Gate. It was only infantry, only on the capture point. In terms of numbers suck, they brought in around 50%, but the Air Force and all the controls that they had, they've bought themselves about a minute, 2 minute tempo play. We see there's a small attack going to Zealous Northgate, but Miller has forces there ready to deal with it. Araxis Firearms is safe, and we see Araxicom substation is under attack again. We also see that
Miller's not even on Onatha anymore. They should leave.
Oh, Araxicom's network hub, check that out, overpopped up to 4896, 56%, only sub-minute to go. They've been threatening this base ever since they got the Bastion, and wow, the Emerald Air Force is here in galore.
Oh my god, they are. They have swarmed in the sky. I hope Miller brought enough bug spray.
Thing is, with the capture point, yes, the Banshees can look into the spawn room, so that, the capture room, and that's exactly what they're doing. I would not want to be in that cap building.
Funny? We were talking about this room and about how you end up just flooding it with grenades. But if you actually get inside this room and watch it, a Raxcom Network Hub, Miller's just throwing grenades out the doors. There's not a lot of grenades making it inside.
Really? I didn't know Synthesis was leading the Miller force. Oh, here comes the crash, but the Max is onto the AV mines. They've got themselves killed. 8.1 second to go. Miller takes it! All that Air Force not on the ground, and I wonder if that Air Force was preventing redeploying spawn-ins. We see Miller is also threatening Rockslide Overlook, very low numbers, and we also see that Emerald is threatening Raven Lansing. This is a double lock-off. Now, you'd have to favour, and Miller's going for Araxicom substation. They'll probably abandon that. They have to go for Raven's Landing. We also see Emerald threatening Zealous Northgate. This is everything.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble. I mean, and yeah, they have a central airport where they want it. But do you want to take the advantage, the initiative, and push into NC Arsenal?
No.
Guys pushing to Zealous.
Only if I had Lithcorp Central, and there's the conundrum, because it's pushing Raven's Landing. You have to save Raven's Landing. You have to keep pressure on Lithcorp Central. Those are the two main focuses in the center. If you have free forces, harass Rockslide, but you must get Ravens, and then you must get Lithcorp if you are Miller. You just simply can't afford the risk, and we see that immediately. 50-50 pop on Raven's Landing. It is a very vulnerable base that Emerald can abuse later in the game. If it stays this close, Emerald can dunk everyone here, and they could cut off the Ascent, again giving them a 2 territory base advantage over Miller. Miller's currently up to 51-48. If Emerald somehow took Raven's Landing, they would win. And you could also see a very weird position where Miller could attack Rockslide, Emerald could attack Raven's Landing, and they cut each other off. That would be just hilarious. And then it's the first person to blink.
I was actually just thinking about that earlier. I was like, it'd be great if they both rushed on each other's warp gates and cut each other off.
Oh, we see that Emerald is actually playing big now for Zealous Northgate. Minute 20, 24:48. Raxicum substation. Looks like the population that was there has gone to Raven's Landing. We see how the population has increased to 60%. Miller's outside the cap point. Probably going to make a save here. We'll go to Zealous Northgate as soon as we see the capture point taken by Miller here at Ravens.
Well, classically with Emerald, though, whenever they push really far south or really far north in a lane, it's generally to try to pull some of the enemy that way, generally the Air Force. So that might not be really intentional. I mean, if they take it, yes, of course you want the point, but the real reason that you take it is to try to pull the Air Force away.
Okay, so Miller's turned up with their own force multipliers. They got Sunders, they got a Vanguard, hello. Coming in from the south, from the Biolab, taking out the spawn options and the hard multipliers. Air Force is partially here in turn, whether or not it's the Air Force or just this platoon group's own air. They're bombarding the capture building. 38 seconds to go, hello, get in the building! And for Emerald, you just need to hold on a small amount of time. There's so few people here from Emerald. With 30 seconds to go, they could actually take this base. Here comes the max crash. 25 seconds to go. Has Emerald put down any AV mines? There's not enough time to sit around and throw the EMP grenades and the Kongs. You gotta go in, and here goes the Max.
I hope you got material guns.
Oh, wow. Oh, the turn in one little corner. Max gets a ton of kills. Miller's on the point on all sides, and they get a save on 11 seconds.
Wow,
12 seconds.
Clutch save. One of the first ones we've seen tonight.
Close. I mean, there's so many multipliers, but the thing is, what is this cost Miller? Miller's had to dunk 66% population here. It means that the cap...
a lot of nanites are spent. Oh, and the zombies are coming back up.
But, like, check this out. What does this cost?
The masses are laying waste to the zombie apocalypse.
So the Miller pop here has been pulled off the East Hills lane. So now East Hills is set up by Emerald. Because you've abandoned that lane, you lost the tempo on the North Southwest gate. So the Miller Force makes a save here, but it's 3.5 minutes of tempo play, and then they have to go back to the East Hills. And who's to say the Terran Force doesn't come back to Zealous Northgate when it's not that close?
Well, that's why what you do here is now that you've pulled a bunch of population to try to defend a base, rush in and try to put as many attacking bases as you can. Try to shift the tempo so that now you're the team that's attacking. And you can see that Emerald is doing that. They're starting to attack a handful of bases. Not as many as you would like to see at this point in the game, but they are actively attacking. Well, the problem is almost all those attacks are failing hard.
The Terran Republic has taken the...
Because TR's made a full save of Raxicum substation, and we see they've got 1224 Araxis Firearms Corp. Raven's Landing is saved. Rockslide is actually 1 minute. This is a cutoff territory right here.
Zealous, oh, somebody got to the point for a second, because they have left Zealous. They have run away. They said, we've got this sucker locked down, and we're just going to leave one max on the point, and we'll be fine. Oh no, 2.
Frantic calls to repair the Battle Sunder on the capture point at A, being absolutely bombarded by the Emerald Air Force. Emerald Air Force, they realize the value of Rockslide. If Miller gets this, it means that they will up in the territory control. They're 51 to 48, but this will take away not 1 but 2 territories from Emerald due to the Lithcorp on the western flank.
Yeah, but with 23 seconds to go, they might have responded too little too late.
Yeah, I don't see the infantry. I see the Air Force. I do not see the infantry.
One guy made it on the point, and he is surrounded.
I mean, Miller, Emerald is right on the point.
He is not doing his job.
Whoever has more bodies on the point wins. That's what it is. Both teams are on point.
The point
is flipping. 3 seconds.
They're rushing. Emerald has swarmed the points. I think it's going to be enough. I see lots of blueberries.
Resonate on the NC.
Oh, ghosts.
The zombie apocalypse.
It's not enough. Emerald does it.
Revive grenade war.
But Emerald has control.
And it looks like it's going heavily to Emerald. Nice.
Emerald has to deploy. So, yeah, 3 seconds from losing 2 territories. Yeah.
They needed that one.
Okay, now what does Miller do here? I mean, the thing is, Lithcorp Central is now 2 minutes 40. Do the forces currently at Rockslide redeploy to Lithcorp, apply pressure there? You also have to go to Rax's Firearms, because if you get Lithcorp Central, you're not cut off, because there's a roundabout through Lithcorp. But you can't afford Firearms to go through, so you have to go and save that as well. And we see, oh wow, is that East Hills about to be captured in 15 seconds? I believe it is.
Miller's Air Force is very
Oh, Miller's on the point, though. And Miller's got the point at East Hills. Oh, but Emerald has the high ground. Yeah, it's not a guarantee though, because Emerald has killed most of the Miller forces. They've got the high ground. They have the closer spawn options. It's a very long wrong time for Miller. They're going to get it back. It needs to resonate for Miller. Miller needs to kind of stabilize on the point.
Resonate hard.
let this
20 seconds, 17, 16, Valkyrie on top, Emerald on the high ground. They're basically just killing all the Miller from all sides. No, that's it. Emerald's got it. 10 seconds. It was close. And
Emerald
that's just
has committed way too many people to this base, but it's enough to get that win.
It takes them back
move
to
the
one
points
base
back.
flip. Yeah, it takes it one base for the win. Firearms, we see, is a long 15-minute cap. Lithcorp, however, is ticking down. That is very close, a minute and 30. So here we are, 49 to 50, one base to go. Deserted Mineshaft, also 154. West Foothills Air Dock, 2 minutes 24, but it's being saved. And I guess there's one thing I want to say is we are seeing offensive caps by Emerald and Miller in this game, back and forth, back and forth. But would you agree that most lanes Miller is applying the pressure?
Yeah, I was saying that earlier, but it really does look, if you look right now, it looks like Emerald has actually rallied and they've sort of evened it up. There's an even number of bases now being accosted both ways, whereas earlier Miller had completely the offensive and there was almost nothing that that Emerald was doing. And you started seeing Emerald eke out to the outside edges that were being ignored, and they said, you know what, let's just attack those bases and start pulling the population out of the center of the map.
The
And
Miller-
then that gave them the opportunity to even things out again.
The Miller Air Force is here in control of the skies over Lithcorp Central. This is the thorn on their side at Ascent, that back door that they need to close off. 42 seconds to go. Tons of infantry maxes, the whole multiplier set up on the capture point. Emerald is not to be seen currently. A couple of
It doesn't
stragglers.
even feel like they know what's happening.
The Air Force
They
is
might
just
respond
pounding
too
them
late.
as they run in. Oh man, the amount of rocket breaker attacks there is insane. And they've got a harasser going up the hill, no less.
Not seeing a lot of striker action tonight.
It's not good against maxes, so I personally wouldn't necessarily use it. I mean, I just go with the grounder. Yeah, that's just my personal preference. Oh, A turret is actually up. I'm not sure what you're going to do. Oh, wow. Guess it killed.
No,
I
those
take it back.
Thunders just live on the A point. This is definitely going to Miller. There's absolutely no way they could take this point now.
With 5 seconds. There's no
Lithcorp.
contention. Right, so that is an important base. It safeguards Ravens. It safeguards a
Sounds
South
like a
Ascent.
trade almost.
But check this, Ascent slightly ticking, but this entire pop from Miller could go to Rockslide, because if they get Rockslide, it locks down the whole center. It simplifies the map colossally
what I
because
would
it's
do.
fewer lanes, absolutely. Emerald needs to make another big save at Rockslide Outlook. There's still small numbers here for Miller, 75% from Emerald.
It's about to change pretty heavy. Oh wait, it looks like.
But does Miller get reinforcements here in time? And even then, is Emerald sent enough people? Because even if Emerald gets the point, which looks like as they are doing, Miller could then send their entire forces at Lithcorp Central and the Ascent into Rockslide Outlook. I mean, Ascent's being saved, 24-48. We also see that Arax's Farms is being saved, and Araxicum's substation is being attacked from Split Peak Pass. Emerald is back in force at Zealous Northgate again, 24-48.
Miller's Air Force has just started pushing in on Rockslide, and their Emerald Air Force is actually already there trying to protect that cap.
Do you think
And since they have the low ground, Miller was able to come in from the top and dunk them with those air hammers.
They're fighting, yeah, that's true. The Emerald is fighting on Miller's kind of little new parking lot in the Ascent. And I tell you what, I'm looking at this and I wonder if Miller's Air Force has shifted, because I'm not seeing as many air hammers. I'm actually seeing more. Oh, there you go, there's an air hammer, never mind. But I was going to say, I'm seeing more long range fire from their Reavers.
I'm still seeing a ton of air hammers when they pop off. Most of the nose cone firing, when I get up close, I can see it clearly. See it's a Mossy. And any other guys I look at, I'm just seeing splatter fire coming from the Reavers.
So capture point at Rockslide Outlook in the hands of Emerald. Galaxy single man drop on the point. I guess that's all it really needs. Oh, not paying attention. Second guy got him. Right, he didn't get the point. Oh wow, Miller's actually got a huge force currently sitting on the Ascent. Perhaps 48, 96 on the Ascent. Are they ready to attack?
Jesus.
That's way too many they're doing. I mean, I know it's the
Yeah,
Air
they
Force
should've-
partially, but it's too much.
They should have taken Rockslide. Go for the cutoff. I guess they just, I don't know, maybe they're just for sure they could
Well,
guarantee
look at
that
the
when they have
population-
enough Air Force.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the disadvantages. The easternmost flank, and I realize you can't get from the center there immediately, is under heavy pressure with 3-1 numbers. Miller coming slightly with the Vanguard. Looking for spawn options. Emerald. Just looking for spawn setups that they've got.
They've
They don't
got
have
the
a spawn
8 point on
center.
Rockslide, man. They're here.
Still got this out.
While we were looking at the map, Miller dropped on Rockslide and took the 8
Still
point.
slightly outpopped, yep, and we also see a small turn cap going at Araxicum. That's a small thing. Sebastian's been saved, Descent's been saved by the huge numbers. Araxicum's substation is being captured, although they are underpopped. East Hill's small pop is being captured. The only offensive cap currently for Emerald is Zealous Northgate, and about 5 squads here from the number of squad beacons that we can see, plus Harasser watching balcony rear. The Miller Force, are they still at pop? No, they're up to 50-50 numbers, and we also see the Miller Air Forces gathering at the biolab. Oh wait, but there's been an interception by mosquitoes on the galaxies, however. And they're being fended off by the Reavers. Here come the galaxies. Are they manned? Are they populated? Or are they just going to build off?
I'm watching Emerald trying to take back the A point on Rockslide. They're pushing it as hard as they can, but they're having a hell of a time getting to that A point.
So the high ground on the double building is being wrested from Emerald's control. Miller's Air Force is here. That harasser's going down. His back's here, I think, if the tags is accurate. Perhaps they've swapped lane, moving off. But the fact is, they are heavily entrenched in the A point. 51 seconds to go. Miller's got the external control. They've got all the spawn options down, all the spawn beacons down, and Miller's pushing up the staircase to the cap point from the balcony. That's it. It's over. But that is a big population dunk, 64%. They must have taken it off a Raxicom sub. And their Rockslide is still roughly 50-50, but it's mainly being saved by Emerald. East Hill's checkpoint is going to be saved, even though Miller's going to get it in at 40. Look at that, 24-48. On the far western flank, it doesn't look like the Zerd Mineshaft and Soltek's going anywhere. It's just back and forth. How did I miss this? Check NC Arsenal, all points by a small ghost cap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that earlier. But I was like, I think that's just going to run down, and then someone's going to run in there and try to do something about it.
It takes population to do it. It's just like Arax's Firearms. Perhaps it's not the same as Crux headquarters, but it's a nuisance. It's, you know, it's a big base. It allows you plenty of other options to attack. But the thing is, the territory control here is so close. Still 51-48. Miller with the slightest of buffers. Right, it's not a one base flip. It's a 2 base flip. Doesn't look like a Zealous Northgate was going to be it. Doesn't look like Raxicom's going to go through. Rockslide, minute and 25. And I wonder if Miller is slowly,
Emerald
so
just
slowly.
deployed a bunch of people to a Raxicom. So we want to check that fight out. Emerald just dumped a bunch of people on it.
Which Raxicom? Oh, yeah, see, Network Hub.
Raxicom
Yep.
Network Hub, yeah.
But the fact
they
is,
seem to be determined to take it, so they're all over the space right now. And you're about to see a gal drop on A point, and they're about to run into a whole lot more guys than they think they are. One guy made it out of the galaxy. What is he planning on doing?
they're so close to each other. Check this out. There's the 2 bases right next to each other. Raxicom and Rockslide, both heavily contested.
They sent in a bacon assassin. That's what the gal drop was. A guy jumped out of his own galaxy just to break a couple of beacons.
Looks like Emerald's getting the Rockslide currently locked down. Oh, that's Spawn Sunder on the... yeah, it's being attacked. Stealth Sunder spotted by Miller. Wow, they've got the twin AV
now.
turrets
Miller's
on the high
trying to
ground.
move. Yeah, Miller's starting to make their move to try to save a Raxicom. You want to get a look at this one.
Right, on my way.
What was that?
I have a phone call and I'm hanging up. This never happened to me before, but here... Here we go, we're watching it right now.
Here comes their point. They're moving in. They're not being stopped. They're steadily pushing. Miller is
2 minutes
guys
though.
Quite to take A point, but they're steadily pushing, getting their beachhead going, clearing the guys out on A point.
I don't see how Emerald can hold this for 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, it doesn't feel like Emerald could hold this within 2 minutes, especially now that the pop is completely shifted and Miller has now even amount of people here, but they have sent everyone. If Emerald wants to hold this one, they're going to have to do exactly what I just looked up and saw that they were doing, bring in a massive amount of Air Force to keep pressure off the A point. I'm seeing just a handful of Air Force in the air, keeping pressure off the point, and a whole bunch of rocket pods just raining hell down on that entrance to the A point from the spawn.
And it's working.
Actually committing to take this A point.
The air control on the double building is what is making the difference here. Miller can't form a coherent attack.
We all learned this tactic from Briggs. This was their favorite move. There's no one inside the A point building though, just like a handful of guys covering it. And Max is running in full force to try to clean up a few guys in the backfield.
He's getting a number of kills, but fire from behind. Oh, another Max on the capture point. This is Miller's best chance.
Yes.
Oh, but the 2 Terran Maxes are absolutely dominating.
Lots of guys on the back stairs. They needed Jesus Grenade, and they need it now.
What's the populations here? We have Miller 50-50 and Rockslide. The fight's dead at Rockslide. We also see Miller doing
lots of dead guys on A point, and A point is flipping because only Maxes are covering it right now.
The thing is, Miller's flipping it from behind.
Here comes the Max crash. Miller's squeezing them in the middle.
And the thing is, Miller's making a save here, but they're also doing an offensive capture currently at Raxicom substation, so both bases potentially going, and it looks like Miller's made a save and an offensive cap is going to go through as well, giving them the advantage. Just small margins here that have big impacts on the game.
Yeah, that's the game you play, though. I mean, when you play ServerSmash and you play at this level, you try to just out-eat the other team. And a lot of it comes down to playing those timers and playing with your populations.
Absolutely.
And understanding how far you can move them. And there's a lot of logistics. It's actually a really interesting thought that y'all had about what y'all were going to do for next year's ServerSmash. You know, having one where you have no plane, so you really have to beg on the logistics.
That was just,
switch sides halfway through just to see what happens.
Okay, so
very interesting to see what happens.
With Miller in control of the capture point, and it's their base at Rax's Network Hub, and they're up to 65%, that's probably not going to go anywhere. We see with Rockside save, they're going for the kind of a distraction attack. We also see, oh, hello. Miller's Air Force, Park Galaxies on the hill of a Raxicom substation, got Battle Thunders on the point. It is a difficult base to take, however, they're air, and they have air control currently. Slowly getting darker. 55 seconds
like
to go. It's 50-50 pop. Tons of multipliers. We've got twin Vanguards. I'm not entirely sure what they're doing, but preventing anything coming at the vehicle terminal. That's great terminal denial. And they're also preventing any vehicles coming in from Macalla Ox as well as being intercepted. We see the first set of Mosquitoes and Air Force from Emerald turning up, perhaps bombarding the point. Is that more Air Forces?
Raxicom is flipping, or it's about to. They're not
Max on the point. Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch streaming of infantry forces now coming up straight to the point. I don't believe Miller has enough forces on the capture point itself. Population up to 57%, 96 plus here for Emerald.
Well, they sent everyone after they lost that other base. They came here.
Yeah, guys in chat who are screaming raffle.
You said that, you know,
say it once and it's enough.
And an offense, and so since the timers were far enough apart, it wasn't going to work. It's one of another, not to mention Limgar again, but one of his big tactics is try to get the timers close enough that you can't save a base and then take one. At least the other team can't.
Well, there's 3.5 minutes of there's 3.5 minutes of tempo play from Miller here on Raxicom. Now they can come back or they can go elsewhere. They need to save Zealous Northgate. 2 minutes to go.
Emerald needs
that's going to go through
quick.
At the
Miller's
same
going to
time,
leave that base. They're not going to try again. They're going to start pushing out and see what they can take.
Yeah, but you can't send everyone, though. That's the issue. And the fact is, the Ascent's probably going to be saved. Lithcorp Central is being saved. The Raxicom Network Hub is being saved. West Foothills Air Dock, 1 minute 30, 50-50 numbers. Someone has to obviously make sure that
I'd start
gets saved.
Pop over there.
But on Zealous Northgate,
where Miller's going next. Miller's going to go save that.
Yeah, and we see that Zealous Northgate was just saved right now.
Yeah, they just did it. They just cleaned that whole point out. They don't even have to dump pop. Hopefully they're not dumping too much pop too early.
Heavy Assault, bail from Valkyrie, rocket launcher. Done.
Nice.
But he gets taken out by an info, no matter. Right. On the actual capture point, we see Emerald is on the lower ground of the capture building. They're pushing up right up into this narrow choke point on the cap room. The Emerald Force doesn't have medics. The Miller does. And the Miller gets the small staircase fight. They keep the capture point. 52 seconds to go. No real multipliers. Purely infantry and SWAT beacons. Brooding out the Sunders at the moment. They got a Valkyrie, but this is all small infantry numbers. And we can see the Deserted Mineshaft is perhaps being started as well.
This is Justicia on all call. There's 59 minutes remaining in the match now. 59 minutes.
59 minutes, and it is still a 2-base game. Normally by the 1 hour marker we're wondering how badly the losing team is going to suffer, but no, this is super close.
See a shift in momentum. Generally battle fatigue sets in about an hour into the game. It's usually
Miller
45 minutes to an hour 15, so we're going to see who gets tired first.
Oh, the Emerald pushes very hard into the capture point. Couple of maxes, couple of infantry, couple of reinforcements. That's all it takes. 66%, 65% population to get it. Raxicom still taking down Emerald, electing to keep a squad or two there. We see Miller has gone back to Rockside, but they've lost it. It's not going through anymore. And we see that Zealous Northgate has been saved again. So we've got a kind of a static line going on here. Basically being stuck at Mineshaft.
Arsenal's getting ghost capped again.
Yep, I see that. Deserted Mineshaft, 66%. I tell you what, the forces that are West Foothills Air Dock, they could probably all move to Deserted Mineshaft. Simply because, you know, they don't need to stay where they are. Because of the timer. And even then, they could go because it links into the Bastion, and the Bastion would take forever to capture. Now, what's Miller got? They don't have the deployed Sunder in this kind of extra section here, stealth variant. Maybe that's just to keep it away from air. They do have the stealth Sunder in the garage, although that's kind of the obvious place, so maybe you want that to be a blockade or a deploy Sunder, no matter. They've got plenty of maxes, plenty of forces on big staircase looking at the spawn room.
Well, my biggest concern right now, actually, looking at the map, is Miller's doing a classic tactic, which is to continually just keep a base ticked in order to keep the other team from being able to attack out. So you just kind of slightly accost it, because you know they're not going to send a lot of pop if you just send 1 or 2 guys to across that base. Emerald used to do this a lot with just 6-man teams who just constantly terrorize a base, never trying to actually cap it, just to piss off the other team. And they're doing that now with NC Arsenal, and I think actually the reason why is that they want to keep the NC Arsenal until you get close enough towards the end of the game that they could jump in and cut off territories. Because if they could take NC Arsenal and then make a massive push to the amp station at the end of the game, they could really ensure a win. And I think that's actually probably what's happening right there.
Wow, check deserted mineshaft. The Miller force has been surrounded on all sides. 50-50 population. Miller concentrated in the spawn room. This is the mercenary Vib and possibly Bob squad group, or I could be wrong there with the third squad setup. I don't know the number compositions. I'm just seeing the tags.
You don't remember which red cup they are?
And the beacons are down now. The Sunders are down for Miller. They're totally surrounded. Is this still balanced numbers? No, 57% population. But they destroyed Valkyries, blocking the doors and doubles in the cap point, buying them a few more seconds. But the problem is,
lots of Emerald chatter on procs.
It's the grenades.
Incredibly concerned.
It's the grenades are the problem, because the Miller force is clumped into one room now.
Yeah.
And they're being attacked from 3 sides.
Surrounded, and Emerald is going to toss grenades in every door to try to take this point. They're already calling the push right now with 40 seconds to go. Lots of dead TR, lots of dead NC.
Air Force is here as well.
Nobody neutering the point just yet.
Thing is,
there goes the point.
If this was a lesser opponent for Miller, Miller would have their Air Force here, or they'd have a reinforcement pull in. But Emerald it's Emerald Air Force is here, and it's Emerald does the push. We see that Miller's they've got forces back at West Foothills Air Dock, although it's not necessarily ticking that direction. We also see that a big forces at Rockslide. There's also a 50-50 number at Crux headquarters, so that's the first push for the equivalent of Arax's Firearms Corp. Much easier to base to hold on to from the southern warp gate if you own the Ascent. And we also see Araxicum substation also ticking down with a minute 20. So basically, there is no offensive cap here for Emerald. All caps currently are in the hands of Miller. And here we are at Araxicum substation. Tell you what, Doc, give us a breakdown. I mean, how have you seen this game going? What do you think that Emerald needs to do to perhaps bring this back? Because at the moment, Temple plays in Miller's favour. They're doing all the attacking right now.
Oh yeah, so far, like, what I've gathered, they've just been on defense. Like, they can't take anything, and Emerald's trusting its small squad teams to go ahead after the defense and start a cap. But so far, even after the small teams get there and try to secure those bases, they get pushed off easily, and the teams can't get there fast enough.
Yeah, you're not seeing a lot of that classic play that Emerald used to do, where they would send like a small team of infiltrators to actually constantly keep pressure on points that you don't even really want, but just keeping stuff locked down.
Well, you have to ask, is that effective?
And now with Stealth Sundays, huh?
We have to ask, is that effective? Because the level of opposition has probably raised. It's not to say that Emerald is playing any worse. It's just the fact that they have an opponent here who's playing.
It's just an old-style strategy that they would employ. Now that they have Stealth Sundays, it's easier. You get an oddly placed Stealth Sunday, a small group of infiltrators that just constantly accost a point that no one's actually interested in order to keep stuff locked down, so that the other team has to make sure they have
3 seconds, sorry.
to that point.
Substation's going through in 1 second. It was a close.
Yeah,
Emerald did do the push. There you go. That safeguards firearms.
I talked about halfway through the game, you get where you get battle fatigue, and the biggest one that it hits is your force commander. Your force commander starts having trouble keeping track of which bases he needs to deploy people to.
Absolutely, right.
And it ends up costing you.
So Miller can re-attack, and they already have. We see a McCallar auxiliary compound ticking down. Miller can make a save and split peak and re-push, which they've already got forces there at East Hills checkpoint. If that goes through, it's a relatively easy base to take, and it safeguards split peak, and we see firearms is also safeguarded. It's now up to a 3-base flip now for Emerald, and we see with Rockslide going through, this will be a 4-base flip, so I wonder on the halfway marker, or just beyond the halfway marker, if it's slowly beginning to slip outside of Emerald's grasp, this match. But then again, they've retaken the capture point back at Rockslide, so not yet.
Not today. Hey, you know what? That's something actually, if I remember correctly, doesn't Miller run a multiple force commander like situation? Don't they have like more than one?
as far as I understand it, you've got the force commander, and then you might have 1 or 2 assistant force commanders. Usually it's only 1, and then you'll have platoon leaders. But there's a heavy amount of autonomy between the platoon leaders and themselves.
Yeah, which allows you to sort of split up that battle fatigue that you're going to have. Just coordinate a little bit and keep moving, and you already know what the guys are going to do. I mean, Emerald does the lane thing where they have their guys in their lanes, but the force commander is the one really shifting people around and taking the brunt of the strategy for most of the match. We
see Emerald's being saved from McCullough Auxiliary Compound. Miller's done quite a bit of pop into Split Peak Pass, and they're also doing Save the Zealous. And I know that Miller has at least 1 platoon leader per lane, and sometimes they stack up on extra platoon leaders if the map, such as Hossin, allows splitting. So there's you only have to focus on your particular area, your particular lane, and your adjacent colleagues. Oh, Miller's Air Force! Check this out, Rockslide. They have turned up in force, absolutely dominating and destroying everything on the capture point, all the multipliers that Emerald had. Now we also see the infantry strolling in from the ascent. The population dunk here is huge. The air control is massive. I mean, and the Crux headquarters, because it's being molested at the moment with the small numbers, it's not the easiest to pull air force to contest Rockslide. So I'd imagine if I was Emerald, I'd probably pull from the warp gate right now.
Yeah, that's probably their best bet. But luckily, Amerish does have a pretty even placement for most of the airport. Not as good as Hossin, but it is generally one of the better maps for that.
2 minutes to go. Now, oh man, Miller's bringing so many more force multipliers. The fact that the lanes are condensing, maybe their platoons are condensing. Right. Yep. They're getting battle thunders on the point. And they're up to 2 minutes to go. They got 60% population advantage. Emerald's got population at Crux, but they also need to save NC Arsenal. They've saved... The western lanes have stabilised. The eastern lanes haven't necessarily stabilised because they lost the Raxcom substation, but it was a base that was jutted out and it was very difficult to save. It's all about who has air control. And we see that Miller, as soon as they save Split Peak Passage in the next 6 seconds, they've already got 1224 at East Hills checkpoint. So I mean, it is definitely red alert, for Emerald. There's a lot of fires going on in a lot of places, and to grasp, tempo playback and to re-attack is proving to be very difficult.
Yeah, they're going to have to make a big play, and if probably a big play they're going to have to make is figure out where they can cut the enemy off, try to negotiate Miller into a precarious situation that'll be easy to cut off, maybe sort of do some kind of feints. I don't know. You don't usually see a lot of those tactics in this game, a lot of cloak and dagger, if you will. But I would like to see that. The Rockslide Outlook A point is now corralled by Sunderers. They're going to have to bring their air force.
There is a ferocious air fight going on long-range rocket fire. Striker fire from maximum range and mosquitoes from the low ground with Reavers holding the high ground at ascent. It's just tracer fire in the night sky of Amerish right now.
I do like lots of explosions in the sky, especially in the mountains of Amerish. America, where freedom reigns.
I know there's a number of people playing for Emerald today that are not just from America though, right?
It's just a joke. We have people from all over. I mean, Lemgar's not from the U.S., but he's like one of the best leaders out there. I mean, and Sergeant Mile, he's from Australia, so we got all kinds of...
Well, we're watching the... Miller's actually got himself a really good kind of anti-air Sundra setup over the capture point, closer to the ascent. It's being brutally effective. More desperate kind of airplay, galaxy ramming over the capture point, but it's taken. That's it. Miller captures Rockslide, and that locks down the center of the ascent, and all forces now can push on Crux headquarters, or alternatively McCallum Auxiliary Compound. We already see that East Hills is checking that checkpoints going down, and we see the first offensive cap, although it's only small numbers, by Emerald on Zealous Northgate. Foothills is being saved, Deserted Mineshaft is being saved, Crux headquarters, all points are in the hands of Miller, and it's only 3.5 minutes to go, so it means half the cap progress has gone through. We'll check East Hills checkpoint, then we'll go to Crux headquarters. Sorry, there's a lovely cookie here. I realise chat's talking about it. It's very delicious. I'm very hungry. I apologise. It's quite unprofessional of me, Poonanners. Forgive me.
Actually, when we were eating, I was like, man, I should have brought something.
In case anyone's wondering, it's raisin and oatmeal. It's very good.
That sounds terrible.
That's supposed to be good?
I find it tasty. Yes. Never mind.
Freedom fries.
Freedom fries. Well, I've got a little pinch of salt on my, my cookie just to make it all right.
Oh, there you go. Salt.
1 minute 30. Cap point was flipping back and forth by Emerald. Miller's got it. They got it high control, but the fact is, it's still extremely low numbers compared to what it was before. In previous attempts on this base, we're talking like one squad at best. So Emerald can save this, but the problem is they've got so many fires elsewhere. We see Miller saves Ellis Northgate. We see Emerald, big numbers currently committed to a Kala Auxiliary compound, making the save, but they've got 67% population. We see they also actually have slight overpopulation now at East Hills. Whether or not they're just beginning to run in.
They've committed a sizable force to Crux. Jesus.
Yeah, 96 plus. This is the push up to the warp gate. Can you imagine the salt if Miller made it to Emerald's warp gate? You would never hear the end of it.
Nah, you'd hear the end of it. I mean, it's the same as when they won. You know, a lot of people were really excited, and I was like, it was funny. People were so mad when Miller won and how like happy they were about it. And it's like, dude, if you were in Miller's place, how badly they lost last season, and how Emerald just steamrolls everybody, and to actually be able to win, I would be excited for days. People were so mad about Maelstrom about it, and I was like, dude, I'd like to think my mother raised me better, but I would probably be doing exactly the same thing in his situation.
Okay, so I think East Hills is. I mean, I'm going to say it's probably going to be safe. It was 60 seconds to go. Although the Emerald has twice the numbers here, 12-24. I want to go to Crux because that is red alert number one. That is the most important thing.
That's where I'm at. Lots of spawn room heroes trying to do whatever they can from the spawn room, but it ain't going to get them the win. Somebody's got to put in a call to the Emerald Air Force to clear out this just bedlam that's flying in from the sky. Ooh, lots of strikers flying, though.
Wow, yeah, Miller's. I mean, this is how you take the space. It's got to be an Air Force control. You basically lock down all the open areas to the capture points. You don't have any safe runs to any of the cap points. And unlike something like Bastion, where you have the cap point next to your spawn room, the spawn room's here and the teleporter's there. The run to Bravo is horrendous. The run to Charlie or Bravo is just dominated by air. Tons of strikers
protecting those runs.
Oh, it's not just multiplier upon multiplier.
They've got this base locked down, and if somebody hasn't put in a call to the commanders that they need to have a lot of people here and lots of, at least a handful of liberators,
look at the population.
A mass crash will not do it.
They're still not responding. Miller's actually upped the ante to 70%. If anyone's pulling here, it's Miller. Miller is stacking the points. They're stacking the base. They have all the areas. And I mean, in terms of what population advantage has Emerald got? Well, we look at Mineshaft. No, NC Arsenal, a few. East Hills, they got 2 squads. Look at this. 24-48 going for Raxicom Substation. So are you saying that you're going to sacrifice Crux headquarters to counter push to Firearms Corp? You both go for the warp gate. That's an extremely ballsy play because Miller then has to push Tungsten and then an ARX. And if they get ARX, then all of this eastern flank gets cut off. Likewise, Emerald needs to get Substation again to get Firearms, but Firearms is an infinitely harder base to take because you don't have the ascent and the air control in the center to push down on. I think this is a mistake, but I think it's also showing how Emerald has to make desperate plays.
And it doesn't look like Emerald's really making a play for Crux. They're just going to let it go, even though they have committed a sizable force to Crux. It just went up 96-96, and it's just not enough. You're hearing screaming and procs and don't realize they are way outnumbered.
We've liberated the facility.
And they never even got out of the spawn room.
No,
and a cutoff.
Oh my goodness, I totally did not see that. Did the leader see that? Because the push for a Raxicom Substation now is irrelevant. Oh my goodness, I just totally didn't see that. I can't believe it. So, a Raxicom Substation, the thing is, East Hills has to go through. Split Peak needs to be captured. All the population, they can't redeploy there anymore. This is brutal. The population territory control has just dropped 55 to 40.
It's exactly what I was saying Emerald needed to do. They needed to find a place on the map where they could find a weak spot and attack and go for a cutoff, and instead Miller does it.
I think this is the death knell right here. With 43 minutes to go, there's no way that Emerald is going to get Crux back. They don't have the air presence, where you have a base to fly out of. Maybe Sungri Amp Station, perhaps, or the Warp Gate, but getting Crux headquarters compared to the center is just not going to happen. And the tech plan's cut off, which means you're not going to see any Prowlers.
Look at Crux headquarters. They have a massive amount of Sunrers just sitting outside of it who arrived way too late to try to save that base.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the multipliers, and you can see that they sent ground forces, not air forces, because they probably don't have the numbers that can contest in the sky. And Okay, 72% on Crux headquarters. So where's the Miller population going? Are they they're saving our Axcom substation? Miller's re-attacking SNA 3 minutes.
Black Shard. I would immediately at least get the timer going on Black Shard. Even if you only got to send a squad there.
Yeah, well, look, it's 24-48, so Emeralds are already on point. This is where it can easily collapse now. Easily collapse for Emerald. They need to stabilize. They need to regroup, and I don't know how on earth you would do this.
Well, that's the problem, though, is that what you end up seeing with these cutoffs is you end up seeing with an overcommitment to trying to save the base. And that's what it looks like they're doing. They have overcommitted way too many troops to try to hold down Crux headquarters that don't need to be here. They need to be other places holding down the map where they can't deploy for as long as they can until they can get Crux back.
And this is the thing.
They're starting to push people off. They're starting to pull people off finally.
If
they all went to a Raxacom sub. We got to get over a Raxacom sub. It's going down.
All right. Yeah. Well, the thing is, why can't I can't believe it? They're actually committing 96 plus to a base that won't count the territory. Like they're losing SNA. I don't see how they can. My goodness, I don't see the logic in this.
Force commander's tired.
Now, don't get me wrong. There's a theoretical desperate logic in this where. Is Emerald throwing the game? Are they giving up? But the fact is, they've got air control. They're going to grab the point. What happens if they grab this base? Could they go for Axis Farms Corp? Yes, but they're losing cart mining. Is the will to keep playing diminished? I mean, we check the populations. It's still balanced populations. We look at this. NC Arsenal is still ticking down. Deserted Mineshaft, uncontested. We have uncontested at SNA. These are linchpins of the eastern western flanks. This is just going to collapse suddenly here. And this was a balanced game right up to the hour marker with the Ascent and the Lithcorp. But it was the fact that Miller perhaps had the better opening plays on the large outposts allowed them just to leverage ever so slightly, and we need to ask them at the end of this what happened. How did Miller, get the edge on the one, the halfway marker of this game? And my goodness, it's up to 96 plus 82% population at Axcom. I mean, has Emerald just said, sack it, whatever, we're just going to do whatever the heck we feel like?
Well, you know what? It's funny because I've seen in ServerSmash that Emerald typically doesn't go that way. It's actually more of my kind of tactic. He's like, you know what? All right, they've won this one, but I'm going to go do this because this is going to be my win, And maybe we've done that on this map before where there was like a base we couldn't take and we just absolutely couldn't take. I remember what it was, and they were just like, screw it, and we all just dumped on the same. There's McCall Tech, and we all just dumped on McCall Tech. We're like, damn it, we're taking this base.
Miller Air Force has now turned up at Raxacom substation. It's not over yet. They're bombarding the point. We've got under a minute to go, 60 seconds. Is Miller going to dump population here, or are they going to punish them? Because if I was Miller, look at this. Miller's actually reinforced SNA. 48 to 96, and Miller knows with the Raxacom substation, due to the nature of cut-off territory, we can come back. Deserted Mineshaft is going to go theirs. SNA is going to go theirs.
And another cut-off.
They're going to be at Silver Valley Arsenal soon. Oh man, we got about 39 minutes to go. I don't think Miller can push up to the warp gate here, but it's really now it's an instance of how much punishment can Miller apply on Emerald, and what's the morale of Emerald? Like, what is the impact of losing all that territory? I mean, it's pretty much the death. I mean, how do you rally?
Look at the Yell chat, and you'll see it. They're mad.
and there's
lots of accusations about stacking.
And the thing is, the Crux headquarters was allowed to be slowly molested and ticked down while fighting was going at Rockslide, and it got to like the halfway marker with small numbers, and then all of a sudden, Miller just dunked the population there, hardcore, and we see that Miller's capable to apply a lot of.
Good for them.
Yeah, but it doesn't count towards the score.
If they can capture Crux, it might count.
If they get well, look at this. They're already going. No. They're going for firearms.
They're going to cut off. Yes.
Okay. So here's the planning, right, guys? If I am Emerald, and it's territory play, move my entire population onto Raxus Firearms Corp. Why? Because then I'm going to move my entire population to High Roads, then Barrack Electrical, then Araxis, RMX Chemical, and Cryobank. And if I can cut off...
It's a difficult play, though, because since all of your population is there, then Miller just sends all their population there and just sends a handful of guys to Ghost.
But you can tie the game, though, because they might have the entire map, but as long as you have the 3 on the warp gate...
They're grabbing bases. That's what they'll do. You send your whole population. They're like, all right, well, we'll send our whole population and send 1 or 2 guys to each of these bases to Ghost Cap it.
Yeah.
And then Emerald will be like, all right, well, we'll send 1 or 2 guys to stop the Ghost Cap, and before you know it, the population's rebalanced.
It's a desperate play. I mean, I think Emerald realizes...
You'd have to commit 100% to it, but once you did it, then it'd be everybody versus Miller, and Miller has their warp gate right there. That's
well, look, this is what's happening. Foothills Air Dock is going through, Stone Ridge Reserve is going through, presumably Lithcorp Secure Mine and NC Arsenal is 64% population. They've got advantage in Crux. The only thing Emerald needs to really do is stall Crux so that Miller can't push up into Tungsten and ARX. Silver Valley Arsenal up to the Warp Gate, it's going to take forever. You know, if this is Emerald's play to defend Araxicom substation in behind and play
This
big
really
for
is the last
farms,
play.
this is it. This
They've
is
got to cut off.
as soon as this is stalled and they are dead, they cannot get back here. They can fly back here, but that's it. So is Emerald going for the tie? Well, I guess this is the tie play. We will see.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a dangerous gamble. I feel like it's their only play, but I can tell you right now, it's not a play that pays off. I mean, you can't really do it. You're right up against the Warp Gate. You have exactly the same pop the other team does. All they got to do is turn around and stop you from taking one of those bases, and that leaves them enough territories to win the game.
It's ballsy, I give them that much. I mean, whether Emerald dropped the ball or Miller outplayed them, the Force Commander for Emerald says, right, we're going for the Hail Mary.
Yes. Well, I think the Force Commander got tired. He missed a couple bases, made a couple mistakes, and he realized, all right, we're screwed. Because that's what this game is. I mean, it really is like that. It's like an arm wrestling match when you play at this level. You have two guys with strong forces going back and forth, watching every little move that the other team makes with what little bit of reporting they get from the game and what little bit of reporting they get from their commanders. And they go back and forth until eventually somebody starts to give. And then once they get past a certain point, it's just really hard to recover.
All right.
I really like that mechanic y'all talked about halftime and flipping things over.
The closer and the further that Emerald pushes south, the worse and worse this is going to be in terms of the air situation. We see that the entire sky is lit up by Miller's Air Force, and Emerald is doing their best to have battle sunders, rep Sundays in all directions, and basically be anti-air for the base. It's still 5.5 minutes to capture Raxus Firearms Corp, and the vehicle terminal is destroyed, so that Miller did what was necessary. They destroyed the vehicle terminal. There's not going to be any vehicle reinforcements unless you drive them in from Araxicom substation, but you can't redeploy there. It is cut off. So this is Daddy's farm right here. Bomb, Emerald on the 3 points.
Down West Foothills.
We see Stone Ridges in the next 7 seconds. And NC Arsenal 240.
This is a fun fight. They're just bombing the living crap out of it. But yeah, it's going to stretch their Air Force thin, and without their Air Force, they're just not going to be able to make that push. They're going to have to secure some kind of back Air Force. Damn, Miller just snatches up another 2. This is the Hail Mary. This is what they're playing to right now. They've obviously given up everybody else. They've committed their entire force here. So they're going to give us a show is what they're going to do. It's like, you know what? We got about
that's a new one.
35 minutes to go. Let's give them a show.
Check out between Bravo and the spawn room, a deployed Sunder on the bridge. I didn't know you could do that on the access to Bravo point on Raxus Firearms Corp.
Fancy.
Learn something new every day. Yeah, that's cool. It's good placement. They still have vehicles. 4 minutes to go on this base. I guess they can do it if they want to. I mean, from Miller's point of view, do you need to hold them at Firearms Corp? No.
If I was Miller, this is what I would do. I would continue taking a lot of bases because the way the connections work up by your warp gate, it really doesn't matter. So I continue taking a bunch of bases in order to run up the scoreboard, and in the last minute, just stop them at Barrack Electrical or stop them from taking Aramax Chemical or even the Araxian's Cryobank. Either one of those bases or 2 of those bases, it doesn't matter. You only really need one territory to win once you've cut them off.
Right, and we see that the tech plant was being captured. Emerald's actually committed a 24-48, so it looks like there's a defensive team preventing any further progress-ish, kind of. Black Shard, Crux, tech plant.
Well, maybe they're going to try to pull. Maybe that's the idea. Is they're like, you know what, we're making a run for your warp gate. If you don't stop us, we're taking it. Pull enough forces down there to stop them, and then use a handful of guys to go and try to snatch your bases back. I
got to ask you about this play when we get to the news at the end. I mean, this is 3 minutes to go. Is both teams have 96 plus, but Emerald is still on 60% population.
Yeah, but they're about to get really accosted by this Air Force. It seems like they have no more air support, so shit's about to get real. As soon as that Galaxy gets exploded on B points.
Thing is, the Miller Force
guys in time.
I think Miller has too many at NC Arsenal. The fact is, you only need a small number. 30 seconds to go. I guess all of those numbers are going to be pulled back. I think Miller is on the verge now of pulling all their forces back and stunting this, because once you've stunted it once, Emerald needs to do a massive air pool to fly back to reassault. That initial setup that they've got here, the momentum, if they get stopped just once, it's game over.
True. And the thing is, you got to make sure that you have enough. I want to say, I don't like to say force multipliers if I can help it, but you got to have enough to protect your ground forces, right? You got to have your Sunderers on the ground. You got to have your walkers. You got to make sure these planes do not get in, and you got to have enough anti-armor on the ground to keep them from trying to push them with armor. You got to keep them out of your base, well, out of the base you want, because they're already spawning in, and they're going to rush them with all these vehicles, and they're going to get toasted. And it looks like they're really trying hard. At least they have to fly all the way from the ascent right now. Eventually, they'll be flying in from the warp gate.
The deployed Thunders, the spawn options are slowly getting picked off for Emerald. Populations, they're still 61%. Miller has air control of the skies. Although it's extremely hotly contested place. You wouldn't want to stay here for any length of time. Still a deployed Thunder for Emerald right on the Charlie capture point. That allows them a very quick run into the Bravo capture point. If we have a look at what's on Alpha...
Oh, they are flooding. I see a max crash from Miller pushing into... Are they going to C? It looks like they're heading to C point.
Really? I don't see it. Oh, there we go. Oh, but they are being bombed.
They know it's coming, and they're blasting the living crap out of it. One of them breaks through.
From the road. All right, here it comes.
Nope, they're ready for it.
That's that flanking fire going in up big stairs.
Well, they were all calling it. They saw it on the map.
Oh, Emerald's counter-pulling. Check this out. 4 reinforcements from Charlie pushing into the capture building where we are right now. And then they're probably going to go push for B soon. That's it. The Emerald forces wiped out the Miller attacking team. Population-wise, it's 50-50. Okay, so we are now balanced numbers. So Miller has decided to... Yes. So presumably very small token forces from Miller are continuing to capture remaining bases like East Hills Checkpoint, East Shore Training Camp. We see Sungri Westgate. We see the Auger, Lithcorp Secure Mine. Not Black... So the Emerald still has a defensive force. It's
Miller has left
crazy.
Behind 1 or 2 guys on most bases they're trying to capture. Very smart play. Because Emerald's gone completely all in on this one, so they have not put their chips in any other place.
And it's the spawn options that are now going to hamper. Emerald can't get to B because of the Air Force. They no longer have the multipliers. Miller's up to 57%, and that's because Emerald doesn't have the spawn options. And that's the problem with the 7-minute base capture. You give huge amounts of capture time for Miller elsewhere then to come back, and at the halfway marker it doesn't matter about tempo play.
God, they
can't come back
everyone here.
And I think that's it. Miller's just crushed it all.
Yep, Emerald is already redeployed elsewhere.
Thing is, they can't. Their nearest spawn option is, God, I'd hate to be someone at East Hills Checkpoint or East Shore, because like the entire pot might redeploy back on you. It's pretty painful now for Emerald. Their play was ballsy, but the problem was firearms. If they were already at Araxicum substation when Miller got the Crux headquarters, maybe they could have got firearms. They had an extra 4 minutes to do a very big play. But now there's no other option. You have to go through Split Peak and the Biolab and then Granite Valley. That's not going to work. So you have to go for firearms. Do you come back here? Do you fly back? There's still quite a bit of tempo play.
Training camp.
And East Hills is being saved. McCalla Cart Mining is being counter-capped. We see Emerald going back for Crux headquarters. That could be the start, but they've lost so much territory right now that the score is just falling away so quickly. We see the NC Miller's about to take the Auger uncontested. The Lithcorp Secure Mine is actually being saved slowly because there's no Miller forces there. I guess... Has Emerald come back? It's like 50 pop again. Have they driven back?
I have no idea, man. I see. It looks like their Air Force is slowly starting to show up.
29 minutes in the match now. 29 minutes.
What's the air hammer stats look like? Did they finally pick it up?
Mustanger Airhammer 824. It's the 4th highest killing weapon.
Yeah. Well, they're still bringing the pain with that air hammer, but not as much as I'm used to seeing. So it looks like, Emerald at least mitigated some of that damage, but still plenty of offensive capability for the NC.
Check the timeline out.
The NC here.
We're looking at the timeline right now on screen, and it's like right here at the halfway marker. It's neck and neck. It's even scores. Yeah. Emerald's in league, Miller's in league, and then all of a sudden, bang! It just kicks off, and then all of a sudden, there's a higher gear that Miller kicks into.
That's the thing I was talking about. It's about 45 minutes to an hour 15, generally right at the hour mark, that you see battle fatigue kick in, and then somebody slips up because they're tired, and then the whole thing just collapses like a house of cards.
Emerald is desperate. They got themselves a deployed Thunder on the bridge south side, and they're jumping up infantry only. They're trying to go.
So I don't think there's a recovery.
They're
still
playing
Rex's
for firearms. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're playing for Rex's Firearms Corp. They've got an offensive small force at Crux, small force at Cartmiling. They've saved East Hills.
Where are they pulling their Sundays from?
They must have pulled it from Rexcom substation, whether they had a Galaxy or beacons or some options to go back in. Triage has now been captured by Miller. Sungri Westgate is being captured by Miller. Is that being saved? I think that's being... No, Miller's got popped in their beginning. I can never figure out this moving bar system since they changed it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, it's very confusing.
And Crux headquarters, Miller's got reinforcements. We see McCullough cart mining with a minute to go in the TR's favour. I wonder if Miller's going to turn up and try and save. I guess we'll go there. In terms of Firearms Corp, Emerald is trying really hard. And, oh wow, they're up to 63% population, but they're mostly all infantry, and they're fighting Sunders, Air Force... Vanguards just get blown up. Right, fair enough. They've got 2 points, back up to an 8 minute. They get themselves Charlie, which they're trying to force their way into. It would become like a 3.5 minute base capture, maybe 4.
Well, C point is definitely locked down, but C point is flipping anyway. All those guys stepped outside the building, didn't realize they had a point to protect. They came in for the upstairs, bunch of jetpacks and heavies.
Yep, that's it. So all 3 capture points in the hands of Emerald again. It's going to be sub 3 minutes actually. It's going to be 2 minutes when this goes through. There we go, 2 minutes 17.
Yeah,
okay, I take it back.
It's going to buy them a people suck from Miller, but they're not capitalizing on the people suck. They're fully committed to this base, which means it's just going to go back and forth while Miller continues.
This
to snatch
might
up more
work
territories.
because the Emerald is flying in their own galaxies and their own air force. They're back here. Miller's allowed them to come back in. Now, is that? I mean,
It is
because
a long flight.
yeah, I
They
mean,
can't afford to lose any of these guys. They got
So-
themselves to prepare galaxies.
Miller's
in some
like
interesting
taking
places.
6 bases or 7 bases on the map. It doesn't matter. Emerald is back. They're back with sufficient numbers, and it's not at 5 minutes when they're back heavily contested. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds. Emerald is going to get this. I tell you what, High Road Station, I'd be prepared because this is going to be captured by Emerald. Emerald doesn't have the same force multipliers. They don't have the same sunders. They don't have the
These
same
hills
deployments.
goes down. Oh, dude, if I was Miller, I would let them have it. I don't think there's enough time in the game for them to even take those other bases, much less actually be able to stop a defense on those bases up against the
All right, well, let's calculate
move the
this.
scoreboard a little bit, but not enough to give them the win.
Assuming you get Rex's Firearms Corp in 1 minute and 10 seconds, okay? 1 minute 10 seconds. Then High Road Station is 4, Barrack Electrical is 8, and then theoretically, and I stress theoretically, 12 minutes to then get Araxi Cryobank and Aramex Chemical Co. So, in 13 minutes and 30 seconds, hypothetically speaking, Emerald could cut Miller off to 0 territory. It's never going to
You
happen.
did everything instantly, and no one stopped you. And
Yeah,
that's
it's
not going to be the case.
just Miller, took a break for a little while. At the same time,
Miller just dumped everyone on A points. Took a massive blueberry dump on A, and they're pushing out from there. That's the big point on this one. Our Axis Firearms, that classic base style.
Emerald took
long
back
bridge
C and
where
B,
you gotta
though.
hold A.
So
Yeah, but without A point, you can't take this base. It just takes too damn long. I mean, they got
yeah, it's back to
2.5
2.5 minutes, but
but we'll see. We'll see.
it's the beacons that are
I've
key.
never seen this base capture without the A point.
From Miller's point of view, get rid of the beacons. There are no other multipliers or spawn options for Emerald. For Emerald, it's desperate play because you don't have air
Just
control.
you hunt down every beacon in Sundering you can spot. You just take away their spawn options, they're completely screwed. Miller just snatches up another base.
It's like the one brave mosquito trying to do close air support while there's just a swarm of reavers.
It's the sudden shift in momentum that happens about that 1 hour mark is when I'm really excited to see us do the little halftime warp gate NC faction switch. It's like no one can claim that one particular faction or a warp gate is OP. You don't have any of that. And then you got to rest for your FCs. You might even switch FCs. I'd like to see that. I mean, it's still possible for them to do something, but it's not in the realm of likelihood. I mean, those dominoes are tumbling hard.
That's it, Charlie Bravo Alpha. All points back in Miller's control. Okay, so what happens now? Geez, harassment, split peak, McCalla Carters
Emerald's
and Miller's
talking about how
hold.
much they like dinosaurs in the procs.
Kind of motor pools ticking down. They got Lithcorp secure. Sungry Westgate is going through. Miller hasn't pushed Blackshard Tungsten Mine. They're not necessarily going for the warp gate. Now, that's because obviously they had to play the desperate control on Araxis Firearms Corp. Emerald is doing a defensive save on Araxicom substation by attacking or harassing Split Peak, which allows them to go back to Firearms if they are so inclined, right? Yeah. They're going to keep coming at this particular base the rest of the game. I don't think they have any other option. They're committed and this is it.
No, but, well, I think that there are ways, and we do this in live all the time. We do it in Smash too. There are ways to just completely prevent a team from taking a base and completely prevent them from accosting one, no matter how much a Zerg, in this particular case, actually wants that base. But you have to commit. You have to commit to destroying all their spawn options, sitting on the point until it caps, and then going to the next base and locking it down. And unless Miller's going to do that, they're going to keep fighting over this base. But honestly, I would just let it go and keep snatching up territories, run up the scoreboard, because I don't think they really have to fear a cutoff. There's just not enough time.
And it's like every time I see a Galaxy from Emerald flying over Axis Firearms Corp, I'm thinking, you've flown a long way, friend. Tell us your story.
Right? To just get pounded on by air hammers.
Is basically what I'm watching right now, and rocket breaker pads. We got a number of Galaxies overhead.
Yeah, I'm watching the same
We
Galaxy.
see Sunders and vehicle forces. I mean, if I was Miller, I'd maybe have my own ground forces into gauging.
Oh, he is running for his life. He's on fire. He's got a tail gunner going. He's a full gal. They got to get out. I think one guy made it out. Nope. 2, 3, 4. They got nowhere to go, though.
They can deploy into the bridge without just Miller's there waiting for them.
Another Galaxy coming to pick them up.
Oh, this is... Oh, dear me. Okay, so Miller's now 50-50. Miller's 50-50 in Blackshard Tungsten Mine. They're saving up McKellar Cart Mining. Anatha Southwest Gate is stalled. Oh, wow. So they are defending the Biolab. The Biolab has not been given away for free. So I think Anatha Biolab, Blackshard Tungsten Mine, and maybe Sungry Overwatch, Jagged Lance. I don't know where the points are where Emerald says this is as close as you get to our warp gate and no further.
You know what? I mean, Miller is still playing very seriously right now. This is the final they obviously have in the bag. If I was Miller, I would go for something funny. You've got Emerald trying to push on their warp gate, and they're considerably closer, I think. I think they should make a push for the warp gate. Just dump everybody on that one. Like, you know what? Whoever gets there first wins.
When Araxis Firearms Corp,
obvious. They have the advantage when it comes to time.
Well, they're only 8 minutes to the warp gate, right? So the fact is they could do that, but I would say make a full save in Araxis Firearms, make Emerald pay for it first, keep getting extra territory, and then when Araxis Firearms Corp is fully resecured and the timer's fully in your favor, in this instance 3 minutes and 20 seconds, then yes, make a big push for the warp gate.
Mathematically it's impossible, then you make the rush for the warp gates.
And you just dunk on it because the Black Shard is an air base because of the nature of the access to the capture point, which is totally isolated out in the middle there. If you have air control, you get it. And ARX, while the capture point isn't air controlled, the entrances are such narrow choke points, it's got to be a horrendous, bloody murder. Okay, well, where's Emerald going? Are they still here? They're still here. Where's their pop? Maybe you can come over Axis Farms and tell me where they are, because I'm looking and I see a number of vehicles. Have they hacked and pulled vehicles from... They have. They've flown to High Roads and they've got the vehicle terminal at High Roads and they're driving with Sunders from High Roads, from the south, pushing up north to Axis Farms.
All Miller has to do is just go there and blow it up and it's done. This is something that Emerald used to do the last ServerSmash. It was like one of the main tenets of Limgard's attack strategy, is you leave no vehicle terminal at any base not destroyed. You just lay waste to your own damn bases. You're like, you know what? A base that we're not using as a major
big point, vehicle push destroyed. Coming in now on Araxis Firearms Corp's bridge.
Right down the mountain. Oh, dude, they're already hollering in procs. Oh, the tank mines take out one, Sonny, but not the rest. They made a beeline for the NC Sutter. NC Sutter got tank mines underneath it.
But
another Sunday goes down, hitting debris.
You've gone into AV mines. Damn. I wonder if the first Sunder had GSD shield, but realistically what you need is the first set of Sunders to be Mine Guard, and we see that there's a counter Vanguard force. Yeah, you see the number of AV mines blocking the entrances, and there's triple Vanguard with AP Lightning backing up, and as quickly as they pushed in, now Emerald is being pushed back by the Miller Tank Force, who are going over their own AV mines.
But I think they're doing what you were already stating earlier, that they're actually going to try to hold this base, get the timer moving enough to where it becomes an impossibility, and they make a rush on the warp gate. Actually, it looks like they're already making a rush on the warp gate as we speak. Like, they're still trying to push on it. They still got plenty of guys committed to it. And Emerald's not really doing a lot to stop them. Emerald's really basically committing all their guys just to try to get across the damn bridge.
There's a Reaver flying into the bridge just because he's got nothing better to do.
He just got ran over, but he took out a Sunday with him.
Oh man, this Miller Force, he's got a whole bunch of engineers on that Vanguard. Oh wow, that Vanguard is taking, yeah, okay, 1, 2, had 3 engineers. He's got 2 engineers repairing him. This RPC Vanguard fighting with the Emerald harassers. Oh, it's a flash on the bridge. What's he doing? Oh, he's gone.
I see a Wraith flash coming up the bridge. You don't see him because you're in C. He's making a beeline for A point, but he is going to hit some.
Man, these Vanguards are being absolutely brutal on the bridge.
He's going right for the NC Sunder in the backfield. He's hitting him with that Fury. Oh, and he ran himself over. Beautiful. Well, the base is definitely secured now. So we can start seeing that push down at Tungsten. They've already got a minute left.
Oh, you're right. Tungsten is going to go through, and so is. Oh, I tell you what, Miller doesn't. They can also attack Jagged Lance. They have enough time, technically. Yeah, they have technically enough time after Sungry Amp Station goes through to attack Jagged Lance from the north, not necessarily from ARX. Miller could warp gate the NC here, not just touch the warp gate, but surround them.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting them to go for, because that's what Emerald was going to try to do.
I mean, they still have defenders at Araxicum substation to Emerald, and they still have 56% population on the south side of that bridge.
Has any pop over there?
Yeah, I'm not speechless here, but I would go along the lines of that. Well, they actually got someone to be. They went for a play, it didn't work. It was an all or nothing because of the lock of Crux headquarters, and that was it. And that was game over. Oh, we see Ickenham Biolab's been saved by Emerald, but Miller's 50-50 Blackshard. Well, we're going to leave this fight now, finally, and head over to Blackshard to see what's going on, because it's 50-50.
There it is.
I heard that on your camera,
I was just sitting on top of it.
Okay,
there goes another one.
With Sungry Amp, they can go to Sungry Overwatch. At this point, does Miller sack other fights? Yeah, but it's low numbers. The thing is, do you leave like the western bases and everything else to the side? Because as soon as Sungry Amp Station, look at this.
Won. Just commit everyone.
Look at this. Sungry Amp, 24 seconds. Emerald is going to be cut off on the northern lanes. It's not going to count. Miller could hypothetically 0% Emerald here.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't even have to take Sungry Amp to do that. You know what I mean? You can just rush up Arc's reserve and surround it.
15 minutes remaining in the match now. 15 minutes.
Okay, it's plausible. 8 minutes. Well, technically 7.5 minutes for ARX and Shadespire Farms. A little bit about 12 minutes to go from Sungry Amp Station through to Overwatch, Hidden Ridge, and Jaguar. There you go, cut off. Territory has now plummeted to 10%.
Capped now too. So even though Emerald is still over at Araxicom Firearms Corp, it's completely pointless. It's locked out. They can't do anything there. I'm starting to see some redeploying over at the Amerish Eastern Warp Gate. I think they're going to try to stop this final push.
You think is Miller now? Yeah, they still have population. They can't cap it anymore at Firearms because they've lost the cap. At
they're starting to pull out. The numbers, it just takes a while because the server doesn't update immediately. So I'm actually watching.
If I was Emerald, I'm going back to Warp Gate defense, right? I mean, you're basically defending every base that they can theoretically. Well, yeah, I mean, the fact is, Miller's going to totally shred into this on the politics, but look at it. We're at 76% population, where had Emerald not gone for the desperate play to Raxus Firearms Corp, it would have been closer to 60-40, or maybe 66-33 at the very most. But this is it's a runaway victory here for Miller because of the big desperate play that Emerald did to go for Firearms Corp.
Yep.
Is Miller going to come to ARX in force? How are they going to approach this? Are they going to perhaps go for Sungry Overwatch? We see even numbers there already at Overwatch. We see Emerald counter-pushing out of the Biolab. Miller's got a large force in the tech plant. It looks like they're maybe not really that interested in going for the Warp Gate. They just want to capture all the neutral territory, prevent Emerald from harassing, all the counter bases, I suppose.
I've talked with the Miller force commanders a lot before, and that is really their deal. They don't go for the dunk. They don't go for the slick move. They go for whatever will get them the most points. That's what they focus on completely. Emerald does have a tendency to go for the show. They're like, you know what, we're going to put on a show, or we want to do something that looks flashy, or something that's funny, or something that's in your face. They're really big into that. That's why we love the drama llama. But the current Miller leadership is whatever will get us the win. So they go for as many points as they can, and that's, you know, it even shows in their stats. You can see like they get more captures than anybody else because that's what they focus on.
Well,
so they're not. I don't think they're that concerned with the warp gate. They'll get it. They'll get the warp gate, but only because they want Ark's reserve and they think they can take it. If they can't take it, they're taking other bases.
Well, they still have some time, 12 minutes. I guess for a warp gate touch, it's one base. It's 4 minutes. That's all it takes.
Yeah. But that's purely for the fun. The Miller Force commanders don't seem to run that way. They're just like, we're going for as many bases as we can grab.
There's barely anybody at the tech plant. If anything, the Araxicom substation is where we have some defenders, but they're mainly just in the spawn room. Oh wait, no, that's... What? Okay, so that's their little Sunder convoy on the south of the base. I'm not entirely sure what we're doing. Maybe getting rid of... Okay. Getting rid of Miller's deployed Sunders on the base. Okay. I guess some Sunders, but it's still 15 seconds of Rexcom. Tech Plant is 34 seconds. Miller has to make some saves at East Anath Comrie and Southwest. I guess we'll go check out East Anath Comrie. Oh wow, the Miller Air Force is here, and it looks like Miller is pushing into the capture point now as well. I mean, all of these attacks by Emerald.
Rexcom just falls to Miller.
The cap point is... There's no one on it. Does nobody know where the cap point is at North of Comrie? It's downstairs, guys. It's neutral. That's all it needs to be, I guess. But still.
It's been neutered.
Yep. And Anatha Southwest is still going through. All right, so we'll check that one out. Oh, the tech plant was saved. Perhaps small numbers.
I noticed the Emerald deploy there.
ARX. Sorry, gotta go to ARX.
Yep, they've been on it for a bit. And you're starting to see, actually, if you look at the Emerald populations, they're starting to redeploy around the warp gate. They're trying to protect as much as they can. Don't think it'll be enough, but at least they'll be within range that they can pull way more Air Force than Miller can.
So the populations have been pretty much balanced now, right up until the last 10 minutes. But I think we're slowly, in the last 9 minutes.
Are you looking at the pops?
It's slowly dropping now. By like 2%.
Rage quit from the Emerald side. They lost 23 players.
Yeah.
Platoon.
10 minutes remaining in a match.
60 seconds until Miller touches the warp gate. In theory, they could get another base. I don't think they can do it. Well, yeah, okay. They can theoretically they can do a lock, but it would involve everybody at all times. We see Emerald is prepping for one big push into ARX.
Looks like a lot of the Emerald Air Force are running into each other. They must have pulled in the reserves. Hey, they took something. No, not the South Gate.
Cool. Yeah, that pushes it back. That's actually a territory that counts. They're up to 11%. Oh, but it doesn't look like ARX is going to go anywhere. I don't think Emerald can get in. Oh, wait, Harasser. Lol. Can't get in there. Miller's just screaming, shoot the door! And the Harasser's doing more bad because his carcass is now blocking entrance to the capture point on the last 10 seconds. The Emerald forces can't get inside. Oh, they're being flanked from behind. Emerald's coming in from behind on the 2-second marker. 1 second. Emerald gets the... No, Miller gets the base! It was so close because Miller... They were flanked on all sides.
McCullough Tech Plant has fallen as well.
Okay, so they've touched the warp gate. This is turning into a crushing defeat for Miller. Can Miller? They've got forces on Shadespire. No one on Jagged Lance. They could cut off more territory now. It's still 80-10, but they could cut off all the Biolab territory.
They got to be hitting both bases.
They can't.
Aren't already moving.
ARX is being counter-grabbed. But there's no spawn options for Emerald to come back here. So as soon as Miller counter pushes into the space, they'll wipe off the Emerald. They don't have the air control. They don't have the vehicle control in the skies. I mean, we see Emerald's pushed Sungray Overwatch back. Miller's pushing Monster V. They're pushing Ican and Bio.
They detonated that dude's mines right on top of him. A point is cleared now. And if I was Miller, I would already have guys at the next 2 bases just waiting for this thing to get unlocked.
Got this. Don't let up.
Unfortunately, though, since it's up against the warp gate, Miller's going to have to leave guys at each of these bases to get that surround, to get that warp gate.
So, yeah.
Doesn't the continent lock at a certain point?
94.
It's like 80, 94. That's like 86.
I thought they moved it down. Damn.
Well, the thing is, if Miller grabs, they've got 7 minutes. They can grab maybe
you go.
Ickenham Garrison, maybe North Grove in just enough time. It's going to be very, very close. They'll get McCall Auxiliary. It's going to be close. And we see Shadespire is now ticking.
Yeah.
All right, let's go check it.
Jagged Lance. That's weird. I figured they'd already have a guy there too. Grab them both. At the very least, touch them. Holy crap! They have a crap ton of people at Shadespire already.
Look at they're spawning in, and they're like, the Sunder is useless. They have to all run around. Check all the Miller that's on the outside of the cap point. They're all trying to bunny hop up and around.
You gotta love that. It's a good placement.
That's deployed Sunder is
There
just
goes the biolab.
useless lemming play. Although they've got numbers. This is easy pickings for any Emerald Air Force. This is like a stream of ants. Yeah, it's true. You have to go all the way around to here. Anyway, it doesn't look like the Miller force is moving around slowly. It is being harassed by anything in the sky. Miller has got population on. Yeah, they're defending ARX. They got pop in Shadespire. They're getting McCall Auxiliary Compound. Very few numbers. Looks like they're getting Moss Ravine. Ickenham Garrison will also go through in time. It's getting close to a domination victory. Although I don't think they'll quite make it.
No, but they'll get the cutoff though. Maybe. I mean, they still haven't got the point flipped on Jagged Lance, and they are running out of time.
They're gonna get Emerald below 10% if they take the space, because they'll cut off what 4 additional bases from Emerald. The Emerald will be down to 3.
They want 0.
They'll need to get Jagged Lance for that, and they'll need to do that in the next minute and 50 seconds.
But this is to be expected. That Hail Mary play that Emerald made when they started pushing in, it's like, you know, we're going to commit everything to try to cut off their base. We had said that if that fails, it fails hard, and it does. Oh, someone's almost going to. He's got the A point. Oh, but doesn't stay alive long enough to get the nooch.
Miller's also got force at Sungry Overwatch. Some of Emerald's in their warp gate. I wonder if they've just given up or they're still going to rally to push out. McCall Auxiliary Compound was saved, and no, it's not. Now it's going back again. So it was very close to going through. Ickenham Garrison 2 minutes 20. Monster Ravine 11 seconds. There is just, and I stress, just enough time to get Lithcorp and Northgrove if Miller gets there in the next 60 seconds. Actually, you know what? Lithcorp can't be captured. I take that back. But Northgrove, yes.
There goes Moss Ravine. Well, it looks like Emerald has surrounded Shadespire. I'm about to see some violence go down.
On a double building that you need to push into in 60 seconds, it's going to be violent, I'll tell you that much.
It seems like they brought a lot of vehicles, but not a lot of infantry. But come on, Emerald, don't get to farming. Certs don't count on this server.
What you need is an infiltrator to fire an EMP grenade onto the roof of the double here. I mean, all of the beacons are in close proximity from Miller. You can kill off all the spawn options. And the Maxes need to push in now, which they are beginning to do. We also have Battle Thunders on the actual building. Here we go, pushing in.
They're coming in from all entrances.
There's 4 minutes remaining in the match. Now, 4 minutes.
Alright, so it won't be a cutoff because Jagged Lance... Oh, well, I tell a lie. Is that actually going anywhere? Oh, it's 3 minutes 36 in favor of NC. Okay, it can still happen. If Miller gets this, then they can't lose it. It's that simple.
Really starting to push on that A point, though. I don't know. But
if they get this in 17 seconds...
It's looking like the Terrans are going to get in there quick. Emerald's going to have to push now, though. They got 10 seconds to go.
10 seconds to grab this point or they will not get the base anymore. And Miller is still getting Jagged Lance. This could be a complete 0 score for Emerald if they lose this.
Oh, here it goes. Their momentum is dead. They're not going to grab the point.
Oh, no, I don't believe it. Miller gets it. Now, Jagged Lance. This is Miller's play, and shocking as it is, for a 0. Emerald will be
Hello.
on 0 high if they lose Jagged Lance. It still goes through. 258, clock timer's 311.
Yeah, it's possible.
Every single person come to Jagged Lance Mine. This is it. Every single person. Only base that matters right now. Miller Air Force, Miller Ground, Miller Infantry, everything.
The
and then,
final stand.
And Miller, basically, if we have the final countdown, can Emerald survive? Because Emerald, if they pull off Sungrove Overwatch, they'll be down to 2%, but it won't be 0.
Well, if they get this win and 0 out the board, I suggest that from now on we refer to this game as the Stack Apocalypse.
Well, you heard it from the Emerald guy. He said it, not me.
I thought it was a cheese
Miller
problem.
plays on the stack joke. Miller thinks it's funny too.
Well, the air. Okay, so what does Emerald do? I mean, they have to know it's everything here. 96 plus by Miller, 64% territory. There's still quite a lot of it. There's too many people at Shadespire. It doesn't matter. Everyone leave, and for Emerald, you can't get the base. It's too late. All the fighting everywhere else, other than McCall Auxiliary Compound and North Grove, they kind of count for Miller as well. Miller could actually get like 4 extra territories here. But this is the one that really matters.
I mean, I guess most people have been muted, but they did get a 4-minute countdown, right? So they can't cap it anymore.
You told them, you said it.
Fire.
Oh my
Sunbury
goodness.
Overwatch.
Look at the sickening number of... Now, the thing is, there's
They're
only...
going for 90%.
Look, check this out, right? So this base capture is a minute 40. There's a minute 51 on the clock. If you galaxy up right now a whole bunch of forces on the warp gate and you come here on the 10-second marker of this base cap and you hold it for 15-20 seconds, that's all that matters, because for you holding it for 5 seconds means there's another 5 seconds to it goes back in that direction.
Dude, look at the
there's
map.
Warp
North
Gate
Grove
now.
is going down. Hold on. North Grove and Arcs Compound are going down well within the 1 minute mark, and now make it be 90%. They probably won't even get a chance to grab Jagged.
Well,
It's 94% again.
yeah,
Oh,
I
it's
mean, it's
94?
94. But what I'm saying is that Emerald can make a play that will stop Jagged Lance Mine from being captured if they dunk on the point with everything they have in 40 seconds from now.
This is amazing. There's 1 minute remaining in the match now.
They're
mean,
outmatched.
The base timer is also
You hear that?
starting to
Stack the
lag.
point. Emerald is calling stacking the point. There's just so much going on here. The base point. Oh wow, you're right. Okay, it's getting close. I think it will still
Yeah.
go through though.
I think we'll go through. I mean, the timer is starting to lag because there's so many people in this base. I
It's
hope
like
the server
Caravan
can handle
Brigade.
it because there's going to be 500 people in this base.
Oh my goodness, 24
they're gonna
seconds,
crash
33.
the server before it ends.
Wow. Made the point. Synthesis made the point.
Oh wow, there's actually Terran C4 going off at the cap room. There's intermingling TR light assaults on the A point. Nowhere near enough. It's gonna go through. Emerald is gonna go down to 0%. Here it goes. 2
I don't even
seconds.
see TR
10,
rendering.
9, 8, 7,
Oh!
6, 5, 4, 3,
Brutal.
1. End of match. End of match. Congratulations to Miller for winning the championship with 92% against Emerald's 0%.
Can you lock the map out, please?
Behold the
Force
aftermath
commanders in the interview channel. Thank you.
of the Stack Apocalypse.
Lock out Eastern Athacomra and just lock the map and freeze it. Right, so right guys, while we're waiting now for our Force Commanders to get in the interview channel, which will be so painful, I believe. I have a special screen here. We're also going to hand out the 2 codes if you've not already done that just this year.
Already done, yes.
Excellent stuff. Right, okay. We have a splash here.
I can announce who won the codes. It was Bex F, who is not in an outfit. He's playing on Cobalt, and it was Sauce from 252 Miller.
Fantastic stuff. Right, congratulations to those gentlemen. Right, so we'll wait for our Miller. We see the Miller reps in the interview channel. We're just going to wait for our Emerald reps to get into there, and the Force Commanders, and we will have a chat with them. But let me ask you then, Poonanners, I mean, that was super close there until like the 1 hour marker, and call it battle fatigue or a mistake,
Yeah,
or
the force commander gets tired, makes a mistake, and then before
Right.
you know it, it just piles on. It starts to beat him down. It's why you need to, share the load a little bit. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Lemgar really did not want to do it anymore. I mean, you can talk to him about it. It really beats you down.
I don't know, I have to say, I'm just shocked. All of that, it was just crazy. All that territory and attacking firearms and just letting everything else fall.
Well, they lost a bunch. It would not have gone as bad as it did, except for they decided to go for their Hail Mary, which we'd already said that's what was going to happen. If it failed, and I was fairly certain it was going to fail, that's what it was going to cost them. It's pretty much the whole map. It was an all or nothing play.
Right.
But if they'd have just played it defensively and just rode it out to the end, it probably ended up more like 65, 30 something.
I think there's a party going on at the NC Warp Gate, which I'm going to go check out. Yep, 2015 ServerSmash champions Miller, from being absolutely dominated and destroyed in the 2014 tournament. Miller is back. Miller is on form. Miller's dominated this game. And let's be fair to Emerald. They played exceptionally well. They did extremely good. And Miller copied Emerald's tactics, refined it to their own way. And that's where we are right now.
Yeah, from the ashes of Moldafor's terrible leadership, they have risen up and actually taken the championship.
Okay, let's jump down and have a talk with our representatives from both servers.
So these guys better hurry up.
Yeah, they're here now.
Hey guys, how you doing? I guess first things first, that was a phenomenal game at the beginning. The first hour was an extreme nail biter, absolutely like on edge, anticipating everyone's move. But then all of a sudden, from the hour marker onward, especially with Crux headquarters, it just seemed to go Miller's way. And then, you know, Emerald, you did that big push for Araxis Farms in the south. I guess from Emerald, from your point of view, from the 1 hour marker, it was super close. What happened in your thoughts? Why the game played out the way it did there in the second half?
Right around the hour mark, we lost 2 or 3 50-50s, or close enough. That put us down 5 bases with an hour to go. And Miller had already jumped on, and now he's poised behind us. We were already defending. So I didn't think it was going to be sustainable enough for us to gain enough traction and enough lanes to make those bases back. So we went for the warp gate. And of course, right when I make that call, Miller decides to do the exact same thing and jump onto Crux. And we got caught in between two mines. We traded Crux for AFC. I mean, for Substation. And we couldn't capture AFC.
And I guess from Miller's point of view, I mean, the beginning, did it go as you intended? Because I guess one of the big parts for the opening play, even though it was back and forth, was the fact that you, Miller, you managed to get the large outposts of the Bastion, then Split Peak Pass, then the Ascent. And the amount of population you dumped, it was obviously felt like it was pre-planned. Did everything kind of go in your favour, or how do you guys feel it went in the beginning there?
I think at the beginning it could have gone either way. The Ascent was quite a fine cut thing. But yeah, we were quite happy with the opening. We wanted to get the Bastion, and we put a lot of population there from the very beginning of the game. It looked a little bit wasted for the first kind of 5 minutes, but it got us the base, which is what we needed. Yeah, we got the main objectives. We were punished for loss of Subterranean, and we lost Soltec charging as well. But you know, we knew we could trade those small bases for the big bases.
And I guess I have to ask the Air Forces there. We're at the very beginning. We noticed that Emerald came out really strong with the Air Force, and for at least from myself and Poonanar's point of view, perhaps caught Miller off guard. Maybe Seb or the Emerald Air Leads can talk about how do you feel the air battle went this game as it went along. I imagine perhaps Miller got an advantage after they got the Ascent, but up until that point, it didn't look like there was any particular team, at least from our point of view, in ascendance. Seb?
Yeah, I can say a few words. It was definitely a tough fight in the beginning. We got put in a few bad spots, really, where we had to engage into ground-to-air fire. Made it quite difficult for us to get the sweeping victories we were after. So it was definitely back and forth in the beginning. A lot of intense, close fights, a lot of fun. But basically, when the map opened up, when the big bases in the beginning were concluded, we could do what we usually do, spread out and farm the bases and just group up, take the big fights, and they went either way through the entire match. So yeah, definitely better than last time, that's for sure. A lot of fun. Thanks for the fight.
Is the Emerald Air Lead here today?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us from your point of view?
From my perspective, it pretty much went as planned for the air in the sense that it didn't go like last time, for one thing, which was always a nice change. But from my perspective, if I needed air control over a base, I generally could get it. And the smaller groups we had doing specialist stuff seemed to be able to regain control of the bases, especially around deserted mineshaft and West Foothills. Until we completely abandoned those bases, we generally only had around 6 ESFs up there, and they did their job superbly. So, I mean, from my perspective, I got what I wanted out of it. I got the big engagements I needed. I seemed to win from my perspective looking at the map, and otherwise I can only blame the ground. It's their fault. Fuck the ground.
I guess, Foley, your opening play, were there plans for the Ascent, Bastion, and Split Peak? Because we noticed you obviously didn't get them, but there was really interesting play with Rockslide and Lithcorp, and you had a Raxicum substation, and you also got Subterranean Nana Analysis, so it was, for the first hour, as we were saying, it was back and forth, so many different bases going, you didn't need to capture Bastion, Ascent, or, Split Peak, because it was like one base flip. What was your opening plan, I guess I'm trying to ask, at the beginning, and then how did you adjust in the first hour?
We set out to capture the 4-point bases right off the bat and let Miller tick down the larger outposts, and then we would resecure it at 3 minutes, which we felt like we did a good job on. We couldn't get back into Bastion as they had already had too much time to set up. The Ascent was, honestly, we should have gotten the Ascent. There's no reason not to. It was a complete misplay on our part, and definitely would have changed the match, I think. Split Peak was a lower priority for us. Locking down the SNA lane and helping push out into Zealous North was more important for us. So we were okay just trying to tick down the Split Peak, even though we knew that East Hills is a very capturable base. It works both ways, and you can capture that base in the last 10 minutes if you have to.
Sure.
We just tried to... We knew that Lithcore was nice because we didn't have good spawns onto that side of the mountain, especially after we lost the Bastion. So by having that, it helped us attack Ravens more easily. There was a point where we were sub 30 seconds on Ravens, which again, just one of those things where we win that fight there in the first 25 minutes. Things could, you
change. Cut off the Ascent, you grab it, the whole flow changes. Yeah, I was wondering about, for us, we noticed that the tempo of the gameplay was kind of even, and then all of a sudden it was slowly shifting in Miller's favour because all the bases under attack were Emeralds. But the point where we noticed on stream where it really went down is when Miller dropped everything on Crux headquarters, and for the last 3 minutes they were on 60-70% population, and that cut off McKellar Tech Plant. Were you guys aware that was going on? Did you not have the forces to deal with it? What happened there from your point of view, Foley?
When they had been putting a lot of pressure on Rockslide, we had to keep trying to resecure it, and when we lost Rockslide, that is when I made the call that we needed the gate. That's when we decided we needed to go.
I see.
So in the shuffle of getting people to where they needed to be to start setting up those attacks on the AFC and substation, that's when they dropped all the pop. So then it was only a 3-minute timer, and they parked the air overhead. Our air was not at 100% at that point. It was probably only 60 or 70% up.
Sure.
So we couldn't really gain air control over it, and then being at such a large base and so far away from everything, we just kind of got shut out of it. And it hurt, but the play we were going to make, having Crux did not matter as much. As long as we didn't lose Makala Tech Plant or Substation, Miller would not be able to reconnect back across the continent.
So it was go for the warp gate, cut them off the warp gates, kind of like how Miller did, and then you would still have a few territories left over to get the win by a small... That was the plan, and we figured it out eventually, but we're like, this is so risky, so incredibly risky, and as unfortunately as it is for Emerald, it didn't necessarily pay off, and then Miller just gobbled up tons of territory elsewhere because, you had all the difficulties of getting to Firearms Corp. And maybe let me ask the Miller Force Commander here, from the second half going onwards, you get Crux headquarters and you see that Emerald is going for Firearms Corp. At what point did you realise what was going on, and when did you decide to send forces to try and stop them?
think we knew fairly early on what they were trying to achieve, because there's only one reason you really go that hard on Arax's firearms. But knowing that they had that much population there, we could afford to let them take it down to... We got down a little bit too close for comfort, but we could afford to have it under pop for a few minutes and just take territory. We captured NC Arsenal, Cannon Biolab, I think Lift Corp even. We captured a lot of territory just because they were attacking that so hard. So we used it as a massive pop sink, and
I
then
think
just brought in our entire force.
It did, from my point of view, get a little too close for comfort, but at the end of the day, it seemed to work out. So
the Emerald was tenacious, right? Because you pushed them off once, and they came back, and they got it to like almost a minute or sub-minute to go. There was definitely determination there, and it got close. But I'd love to have seen them capture it and see whether or not they could have pushed the warp gate. But counteractively, you guys pushed the warp gate. You managed to get the 0. I suppose congratulations are in order for Miller. You are the 2015 champions. Compared to let me ask, Emerald are always strong, and the Miller gameplay has copied a lot of what Emerald does, but maybe you could give us a quick brief rundown. What's changed this year compared to last year? Because last year Miller were the whipping dogs. They were last place. What's happened now for Miller to get them into the position that they are?
I think after the last tournament in I think it was January, we had a big meeting and we just said, what are we doing wrong? We looked at every single thing we were doing wrong from top to bottom. Worked out how we were going to fix it, and just put in a lot of effort in the backgrounds just to make sure we were a stronger team when it came to the coordination of our platoons, the way the outfits work together, the way the squads work together, the way we integrate our air. We just made lots and lots of small changes that have made, brought us to the point that we could, rather than losing a lot of games just through little small mistakes, we were winning a lot of games now. So yeah, it was just a lot of hard work by a lot of people.
I think
the rep team, the command team, Seb deserves a huge shout out. He's led Miller Air, I think, every single time this tournament. Napoleon, Alex, as force commanders. The rep team, we've got Xander and Angie. Like all those guys have done a huge amount of work just to help out and push that forward. And then down to the outfits and platoon leaders as well.
I think at the end of the day, even though it's usually like, the force commanders and the air leads that always end up in the interview channels, there's been such a massive amount of work from, just everyone, even at a basic outfit level. Miller was so hungry coming into this tournament, and everyone just, done their part in some way or another. So it's just been really exciting to see a server that's been historically so divided and at odds with each other come together to form an absolutely killer team. And we buried so many past hatchets that it's just really cool.
Well, I guess commiserations are in order for Emerald. You guys did exceptionally well throughout the tournament, and the first half of this game, it was so close. We were really looking, and we enjoyed every second of it. It was just going back and forth, flying all over the map. But unfortunately, as you said, it ticked away, and you went for that big Hail Mary play, which made it extremely entertaining to watch. I guess now that we're ending this last ServerSmash for this year, and we'll go into like kind of a hiatus and think about next year and how we want to mix it up, is there anything, Foley, that you want to say to the players of Emerald, the players that played for you throughout the tournament, that played for you today, or anything else?
Yeah, I mean, we had, I think it was 64 outfits come out for us this season, and they all did a great job. Can't really fault any of them. Sometimes it's not so much that we got much worse as much as everyone else got better, and I'm not sure. Like, I'm glad everybody came out. Everybody played well. Maybe so much when we were walking into the last Miller match, we had kind of gotten lazy or too confident. But this time, guys were putting in time on Jaeger and practicing and even on live and everything, and I'm glad everybody, stepped up for this. Sorry we couldn't do it in the end, but glad we could do this together.
No, thanks. And I guess, Miller, congratulations again, 2015 tournament champions. Just before we go into hiatus and we talk about next year, are there any words you wish to convey to your, winning Miller players?
I think just to say congratulations to everybody who took part, everyone who signed up. Everyone's put in a huge amount of work, and there's so many people to name, but I won't bore everyone. But yeah, just congratulations to absolutely everybody. We all put in a ton of work, and it was a massive team effort to do this.
I hope you guys had fun. I hope this was enjoyable, and please go ahead.
Can I just say, I've seen some pretty tasteless comments from some of our guys, so I want to apologise to Emerald for the few individuals that have gone over the line. It doesn't represent Miller as a server, so I apologise, and on their behalf, it will be dealt with. So.
Cool. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's love ultimately between Emerald and Miller, a love of salt, but thank you very much for playing. As I was saying, I hope you guys have had fun. I hope everyone watching the stream has had fun. I hope the tournament was positively well received to a certain point. I realize there's some issues there, but I guess my final words and statements to Emerald and Miller today is I hope you had fun. I hope you had enjoyed yourself, and thank you very much for playing, and thank you very much for watching for everyone else. And with that, we'll leave you guys in the channel to digest what's happened and take it from there. So thanks very much, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Oh, Nanners, that was that. That was the 2015 tournament over and done. ServerSmash 58 is over. Miller as NC defeats Emerald, who has no points, as the Terran Republic on Amerish. Wow. I suppose, do you have any thoughts?
It's fantastic. I mean, they had to give up the Orion in order to try to counter the air hammer, and so it was to be expected that they were going to be a little outgunned on the ground. So that's what happens. I mean, that's one of the reasons why you saw them complain so loudly over the coin toss, because they really wanted the NC. Everybody wanted the NC because of how useful they are in ServerSmash, especially if they're a skilled group. So once they weren't able to get the NC and the Miller were able to get it, they're like, well, we're completely screwed now. So it's just one of those things. Every team, every group of guys, or every faction has their beneficial thing that they can do. But in ServerSmash, all around, it was mostly just Vonu for a while until people figured out how to really leverage that air hammer, and it really turned it around. I mean, the maxes, of course, were really great, but the Orion would always just completely outkill anything else that you were throwing at it. But once you bring that air hammer and we're getting those 2,000 kills a game that Miller was getting with it, then you're able to say, hey, you don't even have to get on the ground. You just have to think that shoots at the ground and murders everything in its path, and not just people, but individual vehicles. And this time around, Emerald was able to hold their own for a while, but then they just started making mistakes and got tired, and then they made a Hail Mary pass, and Hail Mary passes, as 96% of the time end up failing.
That is true. It would have been spectacular, that's for sure. It was a very ballsy play, but I think he was right in assuming that we had just lost some key 50-50s, and it was unlikely. Perhaps he analysed that the pressure's on by Miller. We can't get the tempo back. They've got the opening play. We need to just go for the warp gate. There's no other option.
That's the thing, is you can't get the win, right? Well, we can't get the win the normal way. Let's see if we can get it this way. Or at the very least, try to tie it up. That's more or less what he was thinking there, because, I mean, a lot of your other commanders, I mean, even Miller would have done this. There's like, well, let's just mitigate the damage and try to lose by the least amount possible, because they play more about territory capture.
Here's the finals.
Let's go for the win.
You gotta, because there's no other option. There's no other game after this. It's not like the round robin format and whatnot. You have to go for it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like Miller, if they were on the receiving end of this and they were actually the ones getting beat back,
you think they would just mitigate
like a last second cutoff? They would just try to lose by the least amount possible.
Well, I guess that brings us now to what's coming up next, guys. So we're now going into hiatus for the rest of the year. There's no more games, so I wish you festive season greetings and all that type of stuff, and chill out, relax, all that kind of stuff. And we are mixing things up. So this 2015 tournament and all our ServerSmash games outside of the 2015 tournament games can be found on our YouTube channel. All the stats and the VODs can also be found on our planetside.battles.org website, as you can see on stream, ServerSmash. And you go there, you can check all the smashes, all the stats that were recorded, and you can check all the VODs and whatnot, and they're on our YouTube channel, and we'll get the finals up as soon as. But also, coming up, if you want to check out our Planetside Battles subreddit, we do have a linking there that is talking about what's coming up in 2016. We're talking about, as Poonanas alluded to during the stream, we're thinking about doing two halves. So, for example, if I show on the map, rather than having TR on the eastern warp gate and NC on the southern warp gate, we might have teams swap sides. So then NC would be playing from the north and TR would be playing from the south after the 1 hour marker. Or maybe teams would swap warp gates and factions. So we're doing a number of test games, maybe with air, maybe without air, maybe with vehicles, without vehicles, maybe all air, maybe no air. So there's a lot of options and things that we're going to mix up with the ServerSmash format. But the main one being probably splitting it into halves and seeing whether or not that plays better. Because we saw that first hour was absolutely super clutch. And then after the hour, it slowly started to tinker away, and we're wondering where normally in ServerSmash games it just kind of rolls after the first hour. So we're thinking, well, give teams a break, flip it over, and the important thing is map selection no longer becomes super important because you both play from both sides. So if you think there's a perceived imbalance, doesn't matter, you get to play both times.
Yep. No more imbalance rules that way.
And you can also
same warp gate, same faction on both sides, whoever does it faster and better.
And the thing is, we can put more maps. You can make maps that are more imbalanced because you're playing both things. And even with factions, things like the Airhammer and MC, if you swap factions, that necessarily won't be an issue anymore. It's just who is the better players and the better organization rather than who won the coin flip and got said faction on sort of warp game thing. So these are things that we're looking forward to playing to next year. There won't necessarily be a tournament format. There won't be under strict rules and whatnot. We're just going to go back to our friendly kind of challenging system, get people, get together, have a game, try some test modes out, that type of stuff. So that's probably what we're going to be doing next year, maybe from the middle of January onwards, going into February. I think Emerald gets first dibs on how they want to do anything if they choose to play any particular game, and that's where we are, guys. So from us at Planetside Battles, I guess we want to say thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for enjoying our tournament. That is us. You won't see us again now for a while. I think we have a few other elements such as Lane Smash and things are kicking off or will be going at some time. But from us in ServerSmash, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the game. Hope everyone enjoyed the format and everything goes on. Now off you go. Go enjoy the drama on the Reddit. For Miller, congratulations. You are the 2015 tournament champions. Go enjoy your victory. You've earned it. For Emerald, commiserations. Better luck next year. And for every other server that took part, you've seen what the guys can do. Maybe you can reanalyze next year and come back strong and just have some fun in some games. And with that done, thank you very much, and we'll see you next year.